I don't know. It took a few seconds the last time. Assuming we're starting now, then I would like to welcome everyone once again.
Wait, what about use your accent?
Oh, that's right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the evil, oppressive Christian theocracy, world domination, conspiracy. Tonight we are going to be covering the second presidential debate of the 2016 season, in which the Americans have elected to elect one of the two worst people on the face of the earth to be their supreme leader. With me are various members of the conspiracy. My friend Fritz Imperial.
Yo.
Chroma Key.
Good morning.
Matt. I guess Matt isn't saying anything. Anyone I'm missing? Is there anyone I'm missing? I guess not. All right, that's everybody. So, we're going to be covering the debate. Tonight on my scoreboard, I am starting everyone at 0 points. And the scoreboard, these are Machiavelli points. These are not truth points. These are not who I support. This is who is enhancing their political power the most by what they are saying. And since moderators have in recent years taken to actually running for president and interrupting the candidates, every time the moderators do something inappropriate like that, they get a negative point.
Oh.
So an ideal score for the moderators is 0. But if you're watching the stream, then you will notice that the three people on the stream are Donald Trump, the moderators, and the winner, because we already know who's going to win this one.
Oh, look, there's the president now. Oh, wait.
It's like a time warp.
It's a trick question. It's actually, they surprised us all. It's actually going to be a debate between Melania and Bill.
Huh.
Where's Chelsea?
Yeah, you'd think she'd be sort of wanting to sort of enhance her career. Maybe she couldn't get out of rehab for this one.
Donald Trump.
So, yeah, oh, and I'm going to be having comments from our viewers up in the upper right. So, yeah, if you want to post rare Pepes or whatever in the chat, I guess you can.
I don't know, have they been banned yet?
Who?
Pepe.
We are grateful and
From
honored
YouTube?
tonight to have
Yes.
Martha Raddatz of ABC News and
Looks
Anderson
like I have
Cooper
to
of
close
CNN.
Steam and anything else I have open that isn't strictly necessary. Okay.
Hello, Hillary Clinton fan club.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're very honored to be here. I want to thank Washington University in St. Louis for hosting this debate, and also the Commission on Presidential Debates for sponsoring this. This is obviously a town hall format tonight. It's a chance for the Americans on this stage and thousands of people who have sent in questions online to ask questions directly to the candidates.
Yeah, Democrats.
And after they've asked their questions, they've promised to remain silent. And I know you've heard this before this evening, but no booing, outbursts, cheering of any kind. We want to keep this focused on the candidates
That means
and
you,
the people
Mike.
who are asking
All
the
right.
questions here. We appreciate all your cooperation in advance, and we'll start shortly. Great to see you all.
I'm actually really triggered right now. I don't think any of the people in this panel are trans. That's pretty disgusting, isn't it?
Yeah. No fainting allowed, says the chat. Okay. Oh, I guess that rule applies to Hillary. She might cough herself into a faint.
I think that's the only thing that could save the Trump campaign, would just be if she, passed out in this debate.
That would save Trump.
Because the only thing, it'd just be, and it's at this point, who seems the least unfit for office?
There's something philosophical about that. Because it's like
Well, it's
power
kind of
should.
depressed.
Well, it's like that's what every presidential campaign
This is the most
is. You know?
awkward. Right,
every time, because like whoever is going to
Quiet- quiet for
seek
1 second.
power, it's
Quiet for
almost
1
certain
second,
that they
and
don't.
Let's just appreciate the most awkward silence in history.
Oh wow, I guess you're right. It is kind of awkward. Where are the candidates?
They're making out.
They're playing Pokemon Go. They had to finish their battle. And instead, we're going to have Linkin Park. Just
A rock concert. No, you see Jeb Bush in like with his shirt off, like ripped. He's got like a bandana on. He has like both their severed heads going. I'm the president now.
Tattooed on his chest says "Please clap."
Yes.
and he's like, I challenge Vladimir Putin to a shirtless arm wrestle. Now the people are coughing. Wow.
Hillary spread disease.
The stream went down.
Oh,
This is like that one part in the Truman Show. Did you ever see the Truman Show?
yeah.
This is like that one part where
From NBC News,
Where he goes off the
they're
room.
just playing the graphic thing at the beginning. Yeah.
Decision 2016, the second presidential debate.
Hey, I think I've come up with a conspiracy
Good evening. We
theory.
are
If you
minutes
see,
away
if
from
you look at the
second
Israeli
presidential
flag,
debate
it has a
between
Star of
Hillary
David on
Clinton
it. I
and
think they
Donald
might
Trump
actually be
just
run by
over
the
4 weeks
Jews.
now from Election
That's-
Day, and this debate
I
has taken on
think I
even
agree with
more
that.
significance, coming
I
in the
could
middle
see
of a
that.
firestorm over those newly revealed comments by Donald Trump about women. A little
Oh,
earlier, the candidates
already starting
arrived
off
at
with the
Washington
bias.
University in St. Louis, the setting for tonight's town hall style debate. But before that, a bit of a surprise by Donald Trump. He held a meeting in St. Louis with women who have accused former President Bill Clinton of sexual misconduct in the past. And some of those women are in the debate audience
it's
tonight.
not gonna do
Juanita
anything,
Roderick
though.
and Kathleen Willey, we've seen there just moments ago. The spouses of the
problem is
candidates
that,
were introduced, Bill Clinton and
to
Melania
be fair,
Trump.
this shouldn't be
They'll
about
watch
Bill
the debate
Clinton.
from just off stage. And
Yeah.
joining me now from inside
I mean,
the
obviously,
hall, NBC's
they're both
Andrea
connected
Mitchell
with politics,
and Hallie Jackson.
and
Hallie,
he
I'll
was the
start with you. It
president.
has been an
But,
unconventional day, to say the least.
But the argument
What
is,
do
if
they
Hillary
tell you we
Clinton
expect
directly
out of Donald
enabled
Trump
him,
tonight?
threatened people,
an
bought
unconventional
people,
90 minutes, Kate. If there was any
That's the only
question
connection I
about
can
what
see.
Donald Trump would do
Well,
tonight,
I guess,
has been laid to rest at this
I
point.
guess
the women
they're
in the
bringing
debate
out
hall just
Clinton.
behind me now. You can see
I
that
don't know.
Trump
I
will
can't
likely
figure out
go
why they're
after
doing
Bill
that.
Clinton's past indiscretions.
They're
as
basically
former
trying to do
president.
to Clinton
in
what
the audience tonight,
they're
making
trying to
for
do
what
with
will be an
Trump's past
extraordinary moment
actions.
after the worst 72
With Bill
hours
Clinton.
of Donald
Well,
Trump's
that's what
campaign.
Trump's trying to
At
do. The
this point,
question
there
is
are
why
real
they have
question marks from Republicans outside
Bill
the
so
campaign as to
front and
how
center
this
at
will
this town hall
essentially
debate.
play,
The
whether it will backfire
Democrats.
for Trump.
They
He
could
was the
have.
president.
Andrea, to you, if
Yeah,
this
but
happens, if he
Very
goes
odd.
there,
It's a
what is
very
Hillary Clinton
odd
do?
kind of circumstance where
Well, she
you know
is going
he
to
obviously
speak
he
from
technically
her
has
mouth and
absolutely no
also speak to
power
that
in this
Trump
in
video
this he
and
technically
the
has
fact
no
that
power
she
in
believes
this
that
right now.
the expressions,
He's going to be the
language
first
that he
lady,
used, the behavior
but
that he described, that he
Oh, right.
he
That's going to be
conducted
super
is
awkward.
a pattern of
They'll call him
behavior.
the first
Point out,
man
you
is
can
what
see
they'll
there
do.
At the end of that
Yes.
row, Paula Jones
first
has
gentleman.
just joined the
No,
other
first-
women.
Well, no,
Kathleen
gentleman
Wiley
gentleman
next
would
to
be
her,
lying.
Juanita Broaddus next
Yeah,
to her,
that's
and a woman
true.
named Kathy
For
Shelton.
a lady-
First
Yeah,
black
ladies and
lady.
gentlemen.
He's the first black lady. Oh no, that was Michelle. That's Michelle Obama.
No, she was the first black man. Black transvestite.
Accused rapist, as
Don't they-
lawyers
doesn't-
would do,
no, wait,
and she
doesn't
was a hired
Michelle
lawyer, pro
Obama
bono
actually
lawyer
have
against
actual
someone
children?
who was a victim. So these are the three women.
No.
No, I think all those
very
pictures and
active,
all that
active with
all the
people now
evidence of
directly involved.
Obama's
Andrew
kids are actually just
Breitbart's,
fake.
successor from the Breitbart,
Yeah,
Steve Bannon,
I do think that
who
both
are
of the
part of
candidates
the
in
Trump
2012 kind
campaign,
of
and that is
seem to sort of
exactly
have
what
fake
we're seeing
families.
tonight. Hillary
Yeah,
Clinton is also
that's
going to
as a
push
social
back
conservative,
against
that's why I always feel like
allegations about those
you
three
can't
females saying
have
that they
somebody
were
like
raped by
Donald Donald Trump
Russians,
or Newt
and
Gingrich
that
or
is trying to undermine the election.
ever
Quickly, Hallie, what
defending
else would Donald Trump
or trying to,
want to get to tonight?
support traditional family
Andrea
values.
had it
You
right
need
there, the
someone like
idea that
Rick
Clinton,
Santorum, who's
essentially
been married to the
suggested
same woman for
privately in these
decades,
leaked
has 7
emails that
children,
she was
and has always been faithful
to,
to her.
open
That's the
borders.
type of
Watch for
people
Trump
that
to hit
can
that tonight.
actually
We'll
argue
watch it all
for,
over the next 90 minutes. Ladies,
against
thank you
something
so
like
much.
gay
And this
marriage,
town hall
not
debate
somebody that's been
questions will come
divorced
from
3
the audience
times.
and from the 2 moderators, Anderson Cooper of CNN,
I absolutely agree.
Martha Raddatz of
But, you know, we
ABC
need to be a
News.
little
We'll see you
funnier
on the
here.
other side in
We're
90
getting
minutes.
too depressing.
I can't wait to have the first female president.
Good evening. I'm Martha Raddatz from ABC News.
And I'm Anderson Cooper from CNN. We want to welcome you to Washington University in St. Louis for the second presidential debate between Hillary
Oh,
Clinton
the media's
and
coming
Donald
together
Trump,
to attack Trump.
sponsored by the Commission on
Now,
Presidential
who's
Debates.
going to moderate the moderators?
Tonight's debate is a town hall
who
format.
breaks
which
the
gives
tie in a
Republicans
committee of
to
2?
directly ask the candidates
Watchmen.
questions. Martha and I will ask
Oh, yeah.
follow-up questions, but the night
man
really
will break
belongs to the people
I
in
bet
this
that's
room
what I'm betting you right
and to
now.
people across
If
the country
two
who have
moderators
submitted
disagree,
questions
I bet the
online.
man's going
The
to
people
actually
you see on this stage were chosen by the Gallup organization.
decide it.
They are all from the St. Louis area and told Gallup they haven't committed to a candidate. Each of them came here with questions they want to ask, and we saw those questions for the first
I
time
love
this morning.
that picture.
Anderson and
Somebody
I and our
distributed
team
tweeted
from
once where it showed
ABC
like
and CNN
this is
are the only
MSNBC and it's
ones
all
who
for
have
it's
seen
for
them.
white people and
Both
distributor just
candidates
goes
will
quote
have
white
2
people.
minutes to answer each audience and online question. We hope to get to as many questions as we can, so we've asked the audience here not to slow things down with any applause, except
Please
for
clap.
now. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republican nominee for President, Donald J. Trump, and the Democratic nominee for President, Hillary Clinton.
I noticed they didn't give them separate applause times. Oh, wow. Trump is not looking good.
She's alive.
Trump isn't smiling. Hillary's smiling. This is not good for the Trump train. I think the Trump train's gone off the rails.
They're kind of wearing the same thing.
You just want to see Donald Trump in a dress.
Thank you very much for being here. We're going to begin with a question
I don't think they actually
from
shook hands,
one of the
did they?
members in our town hall.
Wait.
Each
Oh,
of
wow.
you
Yeah,
will
no,
have
but
2
they will
minutes
at
to
the end.
respond to this question. Secretary Clinton, you won the coin toss, so you'll go first. Our first question comes
It
from
was
Patrice
rigged.
Brock.
Just kidding.
Patrice?
It was the
Thank you and
Jews.
good evening.
It was the
The
Jews.
last presidential debate.
Oh, great. They brought up a woman of
rated
color.
as MA, mature audiences, per TV parental guidelines. Knowing that educators assign viewing the presidential debates as students' homework, do you feel you are modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
Oh,
Thank you. Are you a
snap.
teacher? Yes,
Look
I
how
think
happy-
that that's a very
look
good
how
question
happy she is.
because I've heard from lots of teachers and
kind of-
parents
what did she
about some
ask?
of their concerns about some of the
Basically,
things that are being
can
said
you
and
tell us
done,
how much of a jerk
in
face
this
Donald
campaign.
Trump is because of the
and I
tapes?
think it is very important
exactly
for
what
us to
she
make
asked.
clear to our children that our country really is great because we're good. And we are going to
screwed.
respect one another, lift each other up.
That's the
We
truth.
are going to be looking for ways to celebrate our diversity. And we are going to try to reach out to every boy and girl
Current
as
year?
well as every
Okay.
adult
This is
to
a
bring them
plus
in to
one for
working on
Hillary.
behalf of our country.
No,
I have a very positive
no one.
and optimistic
Saying you
view
celebrate
about
diversity
what we
doesn't
can
do anything.
together.
Well, should
That's
Hillary
why the
Clinton,
slogan of
should
my
Trump just start
campaign
off with a
is
-5
Stronger
because of the tapes?
Because I think if we work together,
Yeah.
if we overcome the divisiveness that sometimes sets Americans against one another, and instead we make some big goals.
She sounds
Black Lives Matter.
Some big
She
goals,
sounds
getting the
super
economy to work for
presidential
everyone,
right now,
not just
and
those
so
at the
much
top,
better than Trump.
making
She
sure
totally
that we have
gets a point
the best
for this.
education
He looks like
system from
he looks like he's been
preschool through
cuffed right now.
college
His
and
head's
making it
down.
affordable and so
Oh,
much
man.
else. If we set those goals and we
I
go
do
together to try to
admire
achieve them,
Clinton for
there's
her,
nothing,
you know,
in my opinion,
just
that
the sheer
America
kind
can't
of
do. So that's why I
she
hope
is very
that we
intelligent
will
to have
come
gotten to this
together in
point.
this campaign.
Yeah, doing the
Obviously,
horrible
I'm
things she's
hoping to
done,
earn your
but
vote.
managing to get
I'm
away with
hoping
it.
to
She's
be elected
manipulated
in
things
November,
so
and I
smartly.
can
I wouldn't be
promise you,
surprised
I
if
will
she
work
didn't
with
give a
every
whole bunch of
American.
money
I
to
wanna
the
be
Trump
the
campaign during the
president for all
primary.
Americans,
Ha!
regardless
He
of
is
your
exactly who
political
she would have
beliefs,
wanted
where
to
you
run
come
against.
from,
I
what
mean,
you
she's
look like,
he's
your
the
religion.
ideal
I want us to
loser
heal our
Republican
country and bring it
candidate.
together.
I can't imagine, you know,
Because that's,
imagine
I
if
think,
Carly
the best way
Fiorina
for
was
us
up
to get
there
the future
debating her.
that our children and our
Oh, she
grandchildren
would be
deserve.
so
Secretary Clinton,
screwed
thank you.
if
Mr.
that
Trump, you have
happened.
2
No.
minutes.
Oh man.
Well, I actually agree with that.
First off,
I
yeah.
agree with everything she said.
Oh,
I
stop
began
doing that. Stop
this
agreeing
campaign
with her.
because I was so tired.
He agrees with
of
everything she
seeing
said.
Such foolish things happen to our
Oh
country.
wow.
This is a
It's
great
like
country.
he
This is a
aged
great
like
land.
5 years.
I've gotten to know the people of the country over the last
week.
year and a half that I've been doing this as a
He's
politician.
got bags under his
I cannot
eyes.
believe I'm saying that about myself, but I guess I
He looks like he looks like Clinton.
And my whole concept was to.
Did you ever see that? Did you see this picture? I tweeted it. It was Chroma. It was Ashley Mardell.
Oh my God, yeah.
I tweeted a picture. She actually kind of looked Alex Jones. You know who he is, right?
Yeah, of course.
He actually looked. If you actually look, I tweeted this picture of him and next to her, and he actually kind of looks like Ashley Mardell aged 40 years.
It's a one-sided transaction. Where we're giving back $150 billion to a terrorist state, really the #1 terrorist state. We've made them a strong country from really a very weak country just 3 years ago.
Saudi Arabia?
Oh my God,
he's all of the things that I see and all of the potential that our country has. We have such.
This is not the Trump that was screaming at the other Republican candidates, was it? Is it?
So bad.
Nope.
No.
Last year we had
He is done.
$800 billion trade deficit. In other words, trading with.
He's not saying anything bad. He's just saying he's the way he's saying it.
Deficit.
He sounds like he's just been castrated.
Who's making these deals?
He's been muzzled. Definitely been
We're
muzzled.
gonna have a strong border. We're going to bring back law and order. Just today, policeman was shot, 2 killed, and this is happening on a weekly basis. We have to bring back respect to law enforcement. At the same time, we have to take care of people on all sides. We need justice.
Yeah.
But I want to do things that haven't been done, including fixing and making.
Hillary looks sorry for him.
American
she
are so great.
Again, she looks
And
so
for the
kind of
Latinos,
confident
the
at this point,
Hispanics.
doesn't she?
And
Yeah.
I look forward to doing it. It's called Make America
It looks like
Great
she's
Again.
like.
Thank you, Mr.
It's
Trump.
almost like she's just being
The question
charitable.
from Patrice was about, are you both modeling positive and appropriate
That's exactly the
behaviors
look
for
she should have
today's
had
youth?
just right then.
We received a lot of questions online, Mr. Trump, about the tape that was released on Friday.
She's really holding back the spasms
You
really
called
good.
what you said
I
locker
don't
room
think
banter.
Trump
You
loses a
described
point for
kissing
that,
women
but he
without
certainly doesn't
consent,
get one
grabbing their
either.
genitals.
Yeah, yeah.
That is sexual assault. You brag that you have sexually
Oh
assaulted
God!
women.
Oh,
What does that have to do
man.
with anything?
The moderators,
say
you
that at
already
all. I don't
asked
think
them
you
that.
understood
Okay, the
what was said.
moderators
This
get a
was
minus
locker
one
room
for
talk.
that.
I'm not proud of it. I apologize to my family. I apologize to the American people. Certainly, I'm not proud of it. But this is locker room talk. You know, when we have a world.
Oh, I
where
should have
you
watched his
ISIS chopping
apology
off
before
heads,
this. I
where
forgot
you have,
to.
and frankly, drowning people in steel cages, where you have wars and horrible, horrible sights all over.
He is actually trying to flip it right now.
Bad things happening. This is like medieval times. We haven't seen.
He's trying to
anything
show
like this.
that
The
things are,
carnage
you
all
know,
over the world.
what he
And
said
they
11
look
years
and they
ago
say,
about,
can
you know,
imagine
women
the
is
people
nothing compared to what's
that
actually
are,
happening.
frankly, doing so well against us with ISIS. And they look at our country and they see what's going on. Yes, I'm very embarrassed by it. I
Sounds
hate it,
exhausted,
but it's
though.
locker room talk, and it's one of those things. I will knock the hell out of ISIS. We're going to defeat ISIS. ISIS happened a number of years ago in a vacuum that was
completely-
left.
He is throwing it
because of
on
bad
purpose.
judgment.
He's
And I will tell
completely
you,
changing the
I will
subject.
take care of ISIS.
You think he's
And
throwing it
we'll
on
get into
purpose,
much
like
more
somebody paid him to
important things and
let
more
Hillary
things.
win?
Just for the
It was
record,
the Clintons' plan
are you saying
all
that what
along.
you said on that bus 11 years ago, that you did not actually
Oh,
kiss
God.
women
Well, I
without
was never
consent,
Trump,
broke
but I
women
wasn't
without
that
consent?
I have
deep
great
into
respect
never
for
Trump.
women. Nobody has more respect for women than I do.
All
So for the record,
questions
you're
lead
saying
to
you said
ISIS.
things,
That's certainly
frankly,
true.
You hear these things are said, and I
Trump
was
has
embarrassed
low
by
T
it,
tonight.
but I
Yeah,
have
that's
tremendous respect
true.
for women.
Have you ever
Low-
done those things?
How
Respect for
he
me.
became
And
low
I will tell
energy
you, no, I
within
have not.
a couple
And I will
days.
tell you that
Wow.
I'm going to make our country safe. We're going to have borders in our country, which we don't have.
Did you
now.
guys
People
see
are pouring
the
into our
Saturday
country,
Night Live
and they're coming
No,
into
satire?
I don't.
other
I can't
places.
watch
We're
that
gonna
anymore.
make
It's
America
it's
safe
Well,
again.
they
We're gonna
did a
make
really
America
good
great
job
again,
of
but we're gonna make
satirizing
America
the
safe
first
again. And
debate.
We're going to make America wealthy again.
Yeah,
Because if
Baldwin
you
did a
don't do
great
that,
job.
It was
just
the first debate.
It sounds harsh.
Hillary
to
Clinton
say,
has like a
but
perfect.
we
She has
have to build
perfect
up the
facial
wealth of
expressions
nations.
right
Now,
now.
other nations are taking our
Who?
jobs.
She
What?
look. She's
taking our
look.
wealth.
Thank you.
She look. I would just look at her facial
Secretary
expression.
Clinton,
She
do you
has
want
such
to
a look of superiority and
Well,
intelligence,
like everyone
of
else,
command.
I've spent a lot of time thinking over the
Yeah.
last 48 hours about what we
Now
saw.
Trump's trying to switch to
You
a
know,
sort
with
of toad-like
prior
poker
Republican
face now, but
nominees
that's
for
not going to
vice
work.
Frog-like,
I
Pepe-like.
disagreed with them.
Exactly.
Politics,
He
policies, principles.
totally does look like a Pepe.
But I never questioned their fitness to serve. Donald Trump is different. I said starting back in June
Oh, wait a
that
minute.
he was not fit to be president and commander-in-chief.
Yikes.
And many Republicans and independents have said the
Now
same
she's
thing.
sounding really mean.
What we all saw and heard on Friday was
She
Donald
is the ice
talking
witch.
about women, what he thinks about women, what he does
What about
to
his
women,
what about his binders full of
and
women?
he has said that the video doesn't
man.
represent
What about
who
the
he is.
binders full of women?
But I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is, because we've seen this throughout the campaign. We have seen him insult women. We've seen him
Oh my gosh,
rate
he
women.
looks so bad
I think
right
the
now.
winner
their
gets another
appearance.
point
Ranking them from 1 to
for
10.
this. So now it's 2-0.
We've seen him embarrass women.
Moderators
on
minus
Twitter,
one.
on Twitter.
It's 2 -5.
We saw him after the first debate spend nearly a week.
Trump hasn't done anything
No,
other than his
universe.
He hasn't actually.
I said he should start out with -5.
No, the rule is everyone starts out with
yes,
0 in
this
every
is
debate.
Who Donald Trump is.
All right.
And once
But
I
it's
start
not
trying
only
to
women, and it's
assign
not
points
only
ahead of
this
time,
video
then
that
the
raises
scoreboard
questions about
starts to
his
mean nothing.
Fitness to be our president, because he has
Although I might give a -1 to a moderator if they screwed up in a previous debate.
People with
though.
disabilities,
Moderators score is different.
POWs, Muslims, and so many others. So this is who Donald Trump is, and the question for us, the question our country must answer, is that this is not who we are. That's why, to go back to your question.
Well, the fact is,
Yes,
it totally is who we
to every
are.
boy and girl, and indeed
I mean,
to the
has she
entire
ever
world,
turned on a television?
that America already is great, but
She
we
ever
are
gone
great
to the
because we are
movies?
good.
It's totally who we
And
are.
we will respect one another.
I think that's
and
bad,
we will
but
work with one
it's
another.
who we are.
And we will celebrate our
Mhm.
diversity. These are very important values to me, because this is the America
Celebrate
that I know
our
and love.
diversity, or
And I can
else.
pledge to you tonight that this is the America
He's white. Kill him.
that I will serve if I'm so fortunate enough to become your president.
And we want to get to.
In other words,
I already know.
I already am president. Just
I assume I am.
Yes, you can respond to that.
Obama, just give me the keys.
It's just words, folks. It's just words. Those words, I've been hearing them for many years.
Sticks and
I heard
stones.
them when they
If you kill your enemies,
were
then they
running
win.
for the Senate
Justin
in
Trudeau,
New York, where
2015.
Hillary was going to bring back jobs to upstate New York, and she failed. I've
Yeah,
heard
what
them
about us?
Where Hillary is constantly talking about the inner cities of our country, which are a disaster, education-wise,
see.
job-wise, safety-wise. in every
He's
way
doing a
possible.
little better now.
I'm going to help the African Americans. I'm going to help the Latinos, Hispanics. I am going to help the inner cities. She's done a terrible
Say it with
job
some
for
pizzazz,
the
though.
African
Milo
Americans.
needs
She
to be up
wants their
there.
vote, and
Say
she
it with
does
some
nothing,
soul.
and then she comes back 4 years later.
He
We saw
needs
that
to be a
firsthand
black man.
when she was a United States Senator. She campaigned where the
Mr.
primary
Trump,
part of her
Mr. Trump,
campaign.
I want to get to audience questions and online questions.
So she's allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to respond.
You're going to have.
Oh,
you're going to get
wow.
to respond right now.
That sounds fair.
This tape is generating intense interest. In just
That's
48
a
hours, it's
-1
become
for the
single
moderator.
most talked
Yeah.
about story of the entire 2016 election on Facebook, with millions and millions of people discussing it on the social network. As we said a moment ago, we do want to bring in questions from voters around the country.
Yeah, but millions are
via
also
social
talking about the
media, and our
WikiLeaks.
first stays
The
on this
last round that
topic.
just came out.
Jeff from Ohio asks
See,
on
WikiLeaks
Facebook,
is with Clinton. They're
Trump
releasing
says
this
the
stuff.
campaign has
Obviously,
changed him.
now look at when they're
When did
releasing
that
it.
happen? So, Mr. Trump, let me add to that. When you walked off that bus at age 59, were you a different man, or did that behavior continue until just recently? And you have 2 minutes for this.
Where is Ted Cruz when we
Locker
need
room
him?
Talk. I'm not proud of it. I am a person who has great respect for people, for my family, for the people of this country, and certainly I'm not proud of it. But that was something that happened. If you look at Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action. His was what he's done to women. There's never been anybody in the history of politics in this nation that's been so abusive to women. So
yes, there has,
you
but
can
they
say
didn't
any
get
way you
caught.
wanna say it,
It was called,
but
what,
Bill
John F.
Clinton
Kennedy?
was
Yeah.
abusive
Well,
to
also,
women.
most probably a lot of
Hillary
our early
Clinton attacked
presidents who had
those same women
mistresses.
and attacked them viciously. 4 of them here tonight. One of the women who is a wonderful woman, at 12 years old,
so he's
was
finally
raped
going after Clinton, which is the only thing he could really do there.
She represented,
but
got him off, and she's
I
seen
don't know if he
on
gets
two
a point
separate
for this,
occasions,
though.
laughing at the girl.
I actually might give him one.
Kathy Shelton, that
see
young
how he
woman,
ends it.
is here with us tonight. So don't tell me about words. I apologize for those words. But it is things that people say. But what President Clinton did, he was impeached. He lost his license to practice law. He had to pay an $850,000 fine to one of the women.
Oh, look at Skeletor there.
Okay, point for Donald Trump.
And I will tell you that when Hillary brings up a point like that, and she talks about words that I said 11 years ago, I think it's disgraceful, and I think she should be ashamed of herself, if you want to know the truth.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
Audience
People clap.
against
People clap.
The rules.
Well, first, let me start by saying that so much of
That was
what
good.
he
That was
just said is
definitely a
not
point
right.
for
But he
Trump.
gets to run his campaign any way he chooses. He gets to decide what he wants to talk about.
No.
Instead of
So
answering
did you.
people's
See that
questions,
fly?
talking about our agenda, laying out the plans that we have that we think can make a better life and a better country.
Shut up, Hillary.
That's his choice. When I hear
You are a
something like
bitch.
that, I am reminded of what my friend Michelle Obama advised us all.
When we get together on the
When they
Crystal
go
Ball
low,
Network
you
of
go
all the
high.
witches. Wait, what did she say that last time?
And
When you go low, you go high is something her friend
if this were
Michelle
just
Obama said.
about
I'm like,
one
what does that have to
video,
do with
maybe
What?
what he's saying
What does that
tonight
mean? I don't understand.
would be
a
understandable.
strong black woman who was
But
the wife of the
everyone can draw
president?
their own conclusions at this point about whether or not the man in the video or the man on the stage respects women. But he never apologizes for anything to anyone. He never apologized
He just
Exactly.
to Mr. and Mrs. Khan, the Gold Star family,
Oh,
whose son, Captain Khan, died in the line of duty in Iraq,
God!
insulted and attacked them for weeks over their religion. He never apologized to the distinguished federal
Religion of
judge
peace, right?
who was born in Indiana.
You think she gets a
But
point
Donald
for
said he
this?
couldn't be trusted to be a judge because
I want to see how she ends it, but
his
she's
parents were,
close to
quote,
getting
Mexican. He never apologized to the reporter that he mimicked and mocked on national television and our children were watching. And he never
You wanna
apologized
drone
for
strike
the
Assange,
racist
Hillary?
lie that President Obama was not born in the United States of America. He owes the president an apology. He owes our country an apology. And he needs to take responsibility
He's
for
nodding.
his actions and his words.
By withdrawing, in other words.
Well, you owe
I
the
think she gets a
president an
point.
apology because, as you know very well, your campaign, Sidney Blumenthal, he's another real winner that you have, and he's the one that got this started along with your campaign manager, and they were on television just 2 weeks ago. She was saying exactly that. So you really owe him an apology. You're the one that sent the pictures around your campaign, sent the pictures around with President Obama in a certain garb. That was long before I was ever involved. So you actually owe an apology. And number two, Michelle.
Okay, that's a point
I've
for
gotten
Trump.
to see the commercials that they did on you. And I've gotten to see some of the most vicious commercials
No,
I've ever
you.
seen
Exactly.
of
He's like, no, you.
Michelle Obama talking about you, Hillary. So you talk about friend. Go back and take a look at those commercials. A race where you lost, fair and square, unlike the Bernie Sanders race where you won, but not.
Oh my God, nice.
Oh,
And all you have
snap.
to do is take a look at WikiLeaks and just see what they said about Bernie
WikiLeaks.
Sanders and see what Deborah
I'm sorry,
Wasserman
but
Schultz
I think Trump's
had
caught
in
up.
mind.
Hillary's
Because
got a
Bernie
Joker
Sanders,
smile
between
now.
superdelegates and Deborah
She
Wasserman
must have
Schultz,
a
he
really
never had
great
chance.
response
And I was
plan.
so surprised to
So
see
she'll
him
probably get a
sign
point for
on
that,
with the
but
devil.
they're neck
But
and
when
neck
you
at
talk
this
about
point.
apology,
That's a bit
I
of a
think the one
surprise,
that you
isn't
should
it?
really be apologizing
Yeah,
for,
he's getting
and
his
the thing
energy
that you
back.
should be apologizing for, are the 33,000 emails that you deleted.
Now the emails are back.
And then the 2 boxes of emails and other things last week that were taken from an office and are now missing. And I'll tell you what.
Last week?
I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it. And I hate to say it.
Ooh.
But if I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much
Oh
deception.
man!
There has never been anything like
Now
it.
Hillary's
And we're gonna
laughing
have a
this off,
special
but
prosecutor. When I speak, I go out and speak.
He is
the people of this
ripping
country
into
are
her
furious.
now.
In my
They
opinion,
are
what it should have done the first time, right?
This is what the first debate should have been.
This is what the first debate
And this is what it was.
There's
This is what
never
the second
been
debate was
anything
going to be,
like this,
except
where
for unless it was the
emails
actual
get
video
you
or
get
the
a
tapes.
subpoena, and
Yeah.
after getting the subpoena,
So this
you
is what he
delete
planned before the tapes came out.
33,000 emails.
His energy's rising again.
Yeah, but Hillary's got some. She's obviously got something
Jeb Bush
planned.
Jeb Bush has given him a guacamole bowl. It's given his energy back up.
Their lives have been destroyed for doing 1/5.
They're
of what
together
you've done,
swimming
and
in the
it's a
manure.
disgrace. And honestly,
Yeah, it's like a scene out of Dante.
I want to follow up on that. I'm going to let you talk about emails.
Because everything he just said is absolutely false, but I'm not surprised. In the first debate,
Oh, really?
They're laughing at her.
The audience needs to calm down here.
that it would be impossible
Wow,
to be
wait.
checking Donald all the time.
The
I don't
narrative
get
is
to
getting
talk about
flipped.
Anything I want to do and how we're going to really
Oh,
make
now
lives
she's
better for
whining.
people. So once again, go to HillaryClinton.com. We have literally Trump. You can fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate,
she
we
slipped.
had millions of people
I think that was a seizure.
fact checking. So I
she's
expect we'll have
stuttering.
millions more fact checking because you know it is.
She's not.
It's
I
just
think the
awful
winner
that
is
someone
about to lose a
with the
point.
temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge.
If
of
she
the
doesn't
law
end
in our
this with a
country.
zinger, oh, that was not a zinger. She just
Oh.
lost a point. What did he just say?
What did she say?
Because you'd be in jail and the audience cheered.
Oh,
Remind the audience to
man.
please not.
Audience, you're disrupting the narrative.
talk
Stop
out
it.
loud. Please
Wow,
don't
this
applaud.
is
You're just
turning
wasting
around.
time.
And Secretary Clinton, I do
See,
want to follow
please
up
clap.
on
I knew
emails.
this
You've
was-
said
I
your
knew this
handling
was-
of your
this wasn't gonna
emails
be
was a
just
mistake. You
Trump
disagreed
beating
with
the whole
Director,
time.
FBI Director James Comey, calling your handling of classified information, quote, extremely careless.
Okay,
the FBI
the
said that there were
moderators get a point
110
back for
classified
actually
emails that were
asking Hillary
exchanged,
this.
8 of which were top secret.
Now they're only at
and
-1.
that it was possible hostile actors
I really
to
hate
gain
these
access
moderators,
to
though, so
those
I hate
emails.
giving them that point
You don't
back.
call that extremely
Don't
careless?
hate people, Ben.
Well, Martha, first let me say, and I've said it before, but I'll repeat it because I want everyone to hear it. That was a mistake, and I take responsibility for using a personal email account.
How?
Obviously, if I were to do it over again, I would not.
How
I'm not
is she
making any
taking responsibility
excuses.
for that? How?
It was a mistake, and I am very
Now she's basically in the same
sorry
position
about
as
that.
Trump with
But I
this
think it's
tape
also
thing. She's trying to make herself look
to point out
Now
that
Trump
trying to make-
has-
there
now
are
Trump
some
has the look on his
misleading
face Hillary had
accusations
earlier.
from critics and
Wow.
others. After a year-long investigation,
If she took responsibility,
there is
she'd
no
be in
evidence
jail. This is
that
stupid.
anyone hacked the server I was using, and there is no evidence that anyone can point
I think
to
old
at
Trump's
all.
coming back.
Anyone who says otherwise has no basis that any classified material ended up in the wrong hands. I take classified materials very seriously and always have. When I was in the Senate Armed Services Committee, I was privy to a lot of classified material. Obviously, as Secretary of State, I have some of
She
the
get a point. I mean,
most
but the
important
problem though is,
secrets,
you know,
that
I don't
we
think if people
possess,
actually are
such as
buying
going
this.
after Bin Laden. So
her
I
supporters
am
will buy
very
it.
committed to taking
So I guess
classified
she doesn't get a
information
point, though.
seriously.
She doesn't
and
get a
as I
point,
said, there
but
is
her
no
supporters
evidence,
are buying it.
She's not
that
swaying
any
anybody.
She did lose a point
information
earlier.
Ended up in the
So
wrong
what's the
hands.
score right now?
And
The
yet,
winner 2, Donald
she
Trump
didn't know
3.
the letter C on a document, right? She didn't even know what that letter meant. You know, it's amazing. I'm watching Hillary go over facts, and she's going after fact after fact, and she's lying again because she said what she did with the emails was fine. You think it was fine to delete 33,000 emails? I don't think so. She said that
Oh,
33,000 emails had to do with her daughter's wedding, number 1, and a yoga class. Well, maybe we'll give 3 or 4 or
C
5
means
or
something else for Trump. I'm
83,000
afraid
emails
so.
deleted, and now she's saying there wasn't anything wrong.
C
And more
means,
importantly, that was
wait,
after getting
what's
the
a good word
subpoena. That
for it?
wasn't before. That was after.
Charismatic?
She got
I
from
don't
the
know.
United States Congress.
Yeah.
And I'll be
Sorry,
honest,
chat,
am
I have
so
failed you.
disappointed in congressmen, including Republicans, for allowing this to happen. Our Justice Department, where her husband goes onto the back of an airplane for 39 minutes, talks to the Attorney General days before a ruling is going to be made on her case. But for you to say that there was nothing wrong with you,
Hillary's smile is getting a little more tense.
Again, you should be ashamed of yourself. What you did, and this is after getting a subpoena from the United States Congress.
We have to move on. Secretary Clinton, you can respond, and then we got to move on.
We want to give the audience a chance
put
here.
in jail, let alone after getting a subpoena from the United States
Secretary Clinton, you can respond, then we have to move on to an audience question.
Look, it's just not
don't know
true.
if Trump
and
gets another.
please,
I think he does get another
Allow
point.
her to respond, please.
personal emails, not official.
33,000?
Not well. We turned
But
over
the next
35,000,
point for Hillary is
so
going to be an easy
What
point,
about the
though.
other 15,000?
Please allow her to respond. She didn't talk while you talked.
Yeah,
Yes, that's true. I didn't.
Because you
I
have
didn't
nothing
in
to
the
say.
first debate.
Oh.
And I try not to in this debate.
I think
Mud
the moderators
slinging.
are getting a
Get to the
point back for
questions that
that.
the people have brought
They're back
here
to
tonight,
zero
to
because
talk to us about.
yeah,
Get
that
off
was
this question.
the moderators doing their job.
Okay, Donald, I know you're into big diversion tonight, anything to avoid talking about your campaign and the way it's exploding and the way Republicans are leaving you. But let's at
see what
least
happens.
focus
Ooh.
on some of the
Let's see what
issues
happens.
that people care about tonight. Let's get to their questions.
We have a question here from Ken
Okay,
Karpowicz.
Trump's done
His
that
question
enough
about
now.
healthcare.
If he
Ken?
keeps
I'd
going,
like to know, Anderson, why
he
aren't
might
you
go
bringing
too
up the
far.
emails? I'd like to know. Why aren't you
We
getting
brought up
to
the
bottom?
emails.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And it hasn't been finished at all.
Ken Karpowicz has a question.
It's nice to 1-on-3.
Thank you.
1-on-3.
Nice to 1-on-3.
Obamacare
Wow.
is not affordable.
He should have dropped the mic.
Premiums have gone up. Deductibles have gone up. Co-pays have gone up. Prescriptions have gone up.
This little
And the
fuck
coverage
talk.
has gone
I'm
down.
thinking Trump is at 5
What
now.
will you do
It's 5
to
to
bring
2
the
at this
costs
point.
down and make coverage better?
That first one goes to Secretary
Thank-
Clinton.
Make
because
America
you
great
started
again?
out the last one to the audience.
He wants to start. He can start. No, go ahead, Donald.
No, I'm a gentleman, Hillary. Go ahead.
Secretary Clinton?
I'm a.
I was about to say he's going to solve it by repealing it
That's
and
the
getting rid
funniest
of
thing I've seen
the
this
Affordable
year.
Care Act. And I'm going to fix
Here's
it
the thing is, I
because
don't
I
think
agree
what she's
with
going
you.
to say on this issue is
Premiums
going
have
to mean
gotten too
anything.
high,
Because
co-pays,
people aren't really going to be
deductibles,
caring
prescription
No
much
one's
about
going to care about
And
the
I've
issue
laid
now.
out a
They're only going to
series
care
of
about
actions
that.
that
I'm
we
a
can
gentleman
take to
thing.
I like how
get
they're
those
just kind of.
costs
I love how
down.
they're like not even.
But
I like
here's
how
what
he's right
I don't
behind her
want
right
people to
now.
forget when we're talking about
Oh,
reining in
man.
the cost, which has to
See,
be
this is
the highest
this is what
priority
Trump
of the
should have been
next,
doing the first
president.
time.
When
Yeah,
the
this
Affordable
is.
Care Act
I'm
passed,
actually
it
kind of.
wasn't just that 20
Make
million
America
people
great again,
got insurance
again,
who
I
didn't have
guess.
it before, but that in and of itself was a good thing. I meet these people all the time,
well, I
and they
don't
tell me
support either
what a
candidate, like I
difference
said,
having
but
that insurance meant
Trump is
to them
killing
and their
it as far
families.
as convincing people
But
it goes
everybody
tonight.
else, the 170
I mean, they're
million
already
of
kind
us
of moving
who
away
get
from
health
the
insurance
Be a
big
gentleman,
Trump card.
Clinton.
employers got big benefits. Number one, insurance companies can't deny you coverage because of a pre-existing condition.
Yeah, no one cares what
Number
you're saying
two,
now,
no
Hillary.
lifetime
no
limits.
one cares.
Take off your.
Which is a big
Talk
deal
about the
if you have
emails. Take off
serious
your
health
top.
problems. Number three,
Play Freebird.
women can't be charged more than men for our health insurance, which is the way it used to be.
Please
before
clap.
the Affordable Care Act.
More than men.
Number four, if you're under 26 and your parents have a policy,
Please,
you can be
please
on that
listen to
policy
me.
until the age of 26.
Where
Something
did all
that
my support
didn't happen
go?
before. So I want very much
She looks
to
kind of.
see
She looks very
what
bewildered
works
at this
and
point,
is
doesn't
good
she?
about the
like,
Affordable
how
Care
did this
Act.
happen?
But we've got to get costs down.
Now
We've
I
got
actually have to
provide
address
some
issues, but
additional
nobody
help to
cares
small
because I'm a
businesses
lying,
so that
horrible
they can
person.
afford to
Oh,
provide
man.
health insurance. But if we repeal it, as
Chroma, are you
Donald
still
has
in the stream?
proposed, and
Yeah.
start over
Oh,
again,
okay. I just want to make sure that you
all of
weren't.
those
I think you've spoken
benefits
more in
I
this
just
stream,
mentioned
Chroma,
are
than you
lost
have in
to
any of the other
everybody.
ones you've been in.
Not just people
Probably.
who get their
Yeah, I
health
just-
insurance
I'm not
in the
judging you
exchange.
for that. I'm just.
And then we would have to
I was
start
just
that's
checking
what
to
I
make
did.
sure that you weren't
Right
in
now,
the
we
chat
are
because
90%
you lost
health
the stream
insurance
somehow.
coverage. That's the highest we've ever
No,
been in our country.
So yeah, this is a
So I
dramatic
want us
comeback
to get
for
to
Trump so
100%,
far.
but get costs down and keep quality up.
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
It is such a great question, and it's maybe the question I get almost more than anything else outside of defense.
I know what I'm doing.
Obamacare is a disaster. You know it. We all know it. It's going up at numbers
Obama.
that nobody's ever seen worldwide. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this for healthcare. It's only getting worse. In
If you
17,
like your
it implodes
coverage,
by
you can
itself.
keep it.
Their method of fixing it is to go back and ask Congress for more money, more and more money. And we have right now almost $20 trillion in debt. Obamacare will never work. It's very bad.
It was
very bad health
designed to
insurance.
not work.
Far too expensive.
It was
And not only
designed in order
expensive for
to
the person that
create
has
a
it,
crisis that would bring in
unbelievably
single
expensive
payer.
for our country.
I thought they were going to say
It's
create a
one of the
crisis that
biggest
would allow the
line
chancellor
items
to assume
very
emergency
shortly.
powers.
Well, that too, but
Repeal it
mainly to bring
and
in single
replace it
payer.
Make the galaxy great again.
Absolutely much less expensive. And something
Now, see,
that works.
the problem with
Obama
Obama is that the people petitioned him to build the Death Star, and he didn't build the Death Star. I mean, Reagan wanted to build space lasers, right?
Was working on it.
Trump is the president who is going to build the Death Star. You know it.
Can I have his hair out on it?
You will have
it'll have Trump hair on
plan. There is.
It'll have a giant T, and it'll employ thousands of people.
Somewhat similar to Canada,
for sure.
And if you ever notice, the Canadians, when they need a big operation, when something happens, they come into the United States in many cases, because they're
so is your plan then, Ben, just to revive William F. Buckley Frankenstein style?
But she wants to go to single payer,
pretty much.
Which means the government basically rules everything. Hillary Clinton has been after this for years.
Look at the audience.
Obamacare was the first
step.
Obamacare is a total disaster.
I mean, look at Clinton right now. She looks like she's about to pass out.
That nobody's ever believed.
Everybody's like, whoa.
Are going up. So that
we actually have to listen to this now.
A truck, you're never going to be able to use it.
Dang.
It is a disastrous plan, and it has to be repealed and replaced.
Secretary Clinton, let me follow up with you. Your husband called Obamacare, quote, the craziest thing in the world, saying that small business owners are getting killed as premiums double, coverage is cut in half. Was he mistaken, or was his mistake simply telling the truth?
No, I mean, he clarified what he meant, and it's very clear. Look, we are in a situation in our country where if we were to start all over again, we might come up with a different system. But we have an employer.
What does that mean?
Start
over again.
The vast majority of people
destroy the government.
Healthcare.
If we were going to start over again on Obamacare, then we'd have gone with single payer like Democrats have always wanted to. That's what she said.
I think if we were a country like Denmark, fine. We're not Denmark,
namely people on Medicaid.
And if you can afford healthcare in America, it's some of the best you can get in the world.
Our elderly, and does a great job doing it, by the way. And then all the people who were employed, but people who were working but didn't have the money to afford insurance and didn't have anybody, an employer or anybody else, to help them.
I think this is the point at which the American people are going to start actually thinking about the issue again.
Approach was to take. And like I say, 20 million people
now
have health insurance.
The fireworks right behind her. Trump's right behind her. Is he going to slap her on her butt?
Telling you is we just turn it back to the insurance companies.
That would just be you should do that. Drop the mic and run off.
Does Hillary have an American flag tie now?
Look,
tie pin?
No, she doesn't have a tie.
Your child
tie
has
pin.
asthma.
All right. How much does that? How much do you think that pantsuit cost her?
So let's
$50,000, $16,000.
But let's not throw it away.
It's made out of Kenyan children's skin.
Just one thing. First of all, Hillary, everything's broken about it. Everything. Number two, Bernie Sanders said that Hillary Clinton has very bad judgment. This is a perfect example of it, trying to save Obamacare, which is...
You've said you want to end Obamacare. You've said you want to end Obamacare. You've also said you want to make coverage accessible for people with pre-existing conditions. How do you force insurance companies to do that if you're no longer mandating that every American get insurance?
You're going to have plans.
What does that mean?
Well, I'll tell you what it means. You're going to have plans.
All right, that is a good question.
So good because you have so much competition.
You stump him by asking specifics.
Once we break out the lines and allow the competition to come.
I don't think that was Cooper getting into the debate exactly. Oh, now he is. Now he is. Okay, moderators are back to -1
around each state. And it was almost gone until just very toward the end of the passage of Obamacare. Which, by the way, was a fraud.
But that was a really good question for the moderators, so I hate giving them a -1 right after that.
Obamacare he said it was a great lie. It was a big lie. President Obama said you keep your doctor, you keep your plan. The whole thing was a fraud, and it doesn't work. But when we get rid of those lines, you have competition, and we will be able to keep pre-existing.
Okay, I'm going to have to put quotes around
people that don't have
the winner.
Money
the winner has scare quotes around it now on the scoreboard.
And Republicans feel this way, believe it or not, and strongly
because she's not the winner anymore.
Into the states, we're going to block grant into Medicaid.
A lot of people don't like Obamacare, so
able to take
Trump sounds really good right now.
Necessary
conservatives
to take care of
don't. I think some independents.
No, a lot of people don't like Obamacare, not just conservatives.
Hi. There are 3.3 million Muslims in the United States, and I'm one of them. You've mentioned working with Muslim nations.
God.
But with Islamophobia on the rise, how will you help people like me
blatant
deal with the
anti-Trump
consequences
question
of being labeled as a threat to the country after the election is over?
Mr. Trump,
what does Islam teach about homosexuals and women and all of that?
But one
That
thing
they're
we
perfect
have
the
to
way they
do
are?
That's
is
what
we have to
he
make
should
sure
say
that-
right now, but he won't.
Because there is a problem. I mean, whether we like it or not, and we can be very
he is
politically
saying it right
correct,
now.
but whether we like it or not, there is a problem. And we have to be sure that Muslims come in and report when they see something going on. When they see hatred going on, they have to report it. As an example, in San Bernardino.
Wait, what?
Many people saw the
No,
bombs
listen.
all over the apartment of the two people that killed 14 and wounded many, many people. Horribly wounded. They'll never be the same. Muslims have to report the problems when they see them. And, you know, there's always a reason for everything. If they don't do that, it's a very difficult situation for our country. Because you look at Orlando, and you look at San Bernardino, and you look at the World Trade Center, go outside, you look at Paris, look at that horrible, these are radical Islamic terrorists. And she won't even mention the word, and nor will President Obama. He won't use the term
He's got cat
radical
ears.
Islamic terrorism. Now,
I don't
to
know if he
solve
gets a
problem,
point for this.
You have to be able to.
He's
state what the
doing.
problem is,
He's
or
not.
at least
He's not killing
say the
himself
name.
on this though.
Yeah.
This is
He
not
won't say the
stumping
name,
him, which
and
is
President
good.
Obama won't say
Yeah.
the name, but the name is there. It's radical Islamic terror, and before you solve it, you have to say the name.
And Clinton won't.
Well, thank you for asking your question. And I've heard this question from a lot of Muslim Americans.
She's going to lose a point if
across
she
our country.
doesn't say it.
Because
Trump's going to come back
unfortunately,
and hit her on that.
of very
Oh, hey, they
divisive,
started putting a
dark
timer over her head.
things said about Muslims. And
Wow.
even someone like Captain Khan, the
Oh, I
young
guess the
man
timer's
who
probably been there
sacrificed
the whole
himself
time. It's just the first
defending
time
our
NBC
country
showed
in the
it to
United
us.
States Army, has been subject to attack by Donald. I want to say just a couple of things. First, we've had Muslims in America since George Washington. And we've had many successful Muslims. We just lost
Oh, there's always
a particularly
some.
well-known one with Muhammad
Just
Ali.
not relevant ones.
Yeah.
My vision of America is an America where everyone has a place. If you're willing to work hard,
Like Christians
do your
and
part,
conservatives?
you contribute to the community.
No, everyone except the basket
That's
of
what America
deplorables.
is.
They're
That's what we
subhuman.
want America to be for our children
They
and
need
our
to be-
Everybody who ideologically agrees with her.
It's also very short-sighted and even dangerous.
That's what
So get in
diversity
line
always
and-
is. It's
The
always
kind of demagogic
diversity
rhetoric
means
that Donald
everyone
has
who
about
agrees
Muslims.
with the left.
We need American Muslims to be
And here's the,
part of
I,
our eyes
this
and
has always
ears
been my
on our
criticism
front
of like
lines.
people like
I've
Sargon or
worked with a
cultural
lot of
libertarians, which
different
is
Muslim groups
they
around
keep saying that we
America.
need more
I've
intellectual
met with a
diversity,
lot
yet
of
almost
them,
all
and
of them
I've
are
heard
left-leaning
how
liberal
important it is
atheists.
for them to
Pretty
feel
much.
that they are wanted and
I don't know.
included.
Computing
and
forever?
part
Is he
of our
left-leaning?
country.
What about that guy T?
I mean, you certainly have you
Security.
certainly
Yeah, Scottish.
And that's what I
Computing
wanna
forever is
see.
alt-right.
It's also important. I intend to defeat ISIS.
I mean,
to do so in a
anti-SJW is such a
coalition
giant
with
blanket. I'm
majority
talking about,
Muslim
kind of more
nations.
liberal, the actual
Right
liberals.
now, a lot of
Yeah.
those nations are
they are
hearing
li-
what
I mean,
Donald
I'm
Trump's wondering.
anti-SJW.
Why should we cooperate with the Americans?
You know,
And
I would give
this
Trump
is
like
a
2
gift to
points if he
ISIS and the
actually said
terrorists.
SJW.
Violent jihadist terrorists. We are not
Give him
at
20
war
points.
with
She didn't say
Islam.
Islamic. She did not
It
say
is a
Islamic.
mistake, and
Whoever
it plays
mentions
into the
Capita
hands
Did
Frog
of
not
gets
say
100 points.
Islamic.
to act
I
as
think
though we are.
she is so close
So
to losing
I want
a point right
country
now.
where
You said jihadist.
citizens
Does that
like
count?
you
No.
and your family
Yeah,
are
you're
just
right.
as welcome as anyone else.
Thank you, Secretary Clinton. Mr. Trump, in December, you said this.
Please have my
Donald
daughter.
J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims
Free
entering
hugs.
the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the
He's
hell
gonna
is
shoot.
going on.
I saw somebody tweeted
We
like
have
it
no
almost seems. I
choice.
mean, anytime
We
you look
have
at him,
no
it looks like
choice.
he's gonna shoot laser
Your
beams
running
out of
mate
his
said
eyes.
this week that the Muslim ban is no longer your
He's
position.
charging up
is
the
that
lasers.
correct? And if it is, was it a mistake to have a religious test?
I'm a firing
Captain
my
Khan is
lasers.
an American hero, and
I
if were
was
president at that time,
I
he
always
would
thought
be
it was
alive
I'm a
today.
fire in Malaysia.
Because unlike her, who voted for the war without knowing what she was doing, I would not have had our people in Iraq. Iraq was a disaster. So he would have been alive today. The Muslim ban is something that in some form has morphed into a extreme vetting from certain areas of the world. Hillary Clinton wants to allow
And why did it morph into that? No, did you? No, answer the question. Do you still believe?
It's a -1 for the moderators. They're interrupting him.
Explain whether or not the Muslim ban still stands.
Now I think that kind of calm demeanor is actually helping him at this point.
Vetting.
Yeah,
we are going to areas like Syria where they're coming in.
He didn't say no, though.
Tens of thousands because of Barack Obama.
I'm keeping the scoreboard where it is for
wants to allow a 550% increase over Obama. People are coming into our country like we have no idea who they are, where they're from, what their feelings about our country is, and she wants 550% more. This is going to be the great Trojan horse of all time. We have enough problems in this country. I believe in building safe zones. I believe in having other people pay for them. As an example, the Gulf states who are not carrying their weight, but they have nothing but money, and take care of people. But I don't want to have, with all the problems this country has and all of the problems that you see going on, hundreds of thousands of people coming in from Syria when we know nothing about them. We know nothing about their values, and we know nothing about their love for our country.
And Secretary Clinton, let me ask you about that. Because you have asked for an increase from 10 to 65,000 Syrian refugees.
She looks super creepy when she smiles.
We know you want tougher
too much
vetting.
plastic
That's
surgery.
That's not a perfect system. So why take the risk of having those refugees come into the country?
Well, first of all,
they
I
called
will
them
not
refugees
let anyone into our country that I think.
Well, no, I think they're actually going to. The ones that are going to come to America are more likely to be refugees. The ones that go into Europe are mostly migrants.
Okay, but still, that's a softball question. They asked Trump a hardball question and Clinton a softball question. That's another -1 for the moderators right there.
Suffering in this catastrophic war, largely, I believe, because
we can't help them
Russian
over in Syria.
Aggression, and we need to do our part. We by no means are carrying
only we get to
near
bomb
the
countries
load
in the
that
Middle
Europe
East, not the
and others
Russians.
are. But we will have vetting that is as
and that's worked out great for the Europeans, hasn't it? Ask the people in Paris and Nice,
our intelligence experts and others. But it is
Brussels,
important for us
Cologne,
as a
Munich,
policy
Malmo.
not to say, as Donald has said, we're going to ban people based on a religion. How do you do that? We are a country founded
Well, you certainly
on
seem to
freedom
have figured
and
out how to
liberty.
do it in regards to Christianity on a number of issues.
Do what he has
Secretary Clinton.
There's the ones who have to bake. They have to bake the cake. A Muslim doesn't want to bake a gay wedding cake. Well,
are we going to
that's
have
their
religious
choice.
tests?
Bake the cake.
Bake it now.
Expect to be able
The worst
to
part was the
implement
pizza
those.
one, where like,
So
first
I
off,
thought
nobody's
that
ever going to
was
have. First off, gay people are not going to have, are the last people that are going to have pizza at a
and
wedding.
Indeed, you can
Why?
look at
What makes you think that?
on a lot of the terrorist
No,
sites.
you know how in Indiana you
And
had
what
like the
Donald
pizza
Trump
place that
says about
refused to bake
Won't
gays.
cater a wedding.
is used to recruit.
You don't. First off, you don't use
fighters.
pizza as catering for a
Because
wedding.
they want
So basically,
to
they just
create
found
a
that
war
place to be
between
bullies.
us. And the final thing I would say, this is the 10th or 12th time that he's
Are they
denied
small
me
hands?
for the war.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it
We have
might
it
be
on
the whole
tape.
camp
The
thing
entire
where they just
press
sort of
corps
do
has looked at
deliberately
it. It's
bad
been
style or
debunked,
whatever.
but it never stops him from saying whatever he wants to say.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past
please,
the gay marriage advocates to trivialize
and
marriage.
you can see it.
I was against the war in Iraq. Has not been debunked. And you voted for it, and you shouldn't have. Well, I just want
There's been lots of fact-checking on that. I'd like to move on to an online question.
She just went about 25 seconds over her time.
She
Could
did
I
not.
just respond to this, please?
Very quickly, please.
Hillary Clinton, in terms of having people come into our country, we have many criminal illegal aliens. When we want to send them back to their country says we don't want them. In some cases, they're murderers, drug lords, drug problems.
There's
They don't want
NBC is zooming in on
When she
Clinton.
was Secretary of State, said that's okay. We can't force it.
This is
into
not
their
going
country.
well
Let me tell you,
for
we're
CNN,
gonna
is it?
force them right back into
That was
their
NBC,
country.
I'm sorry.
They're
I mean,
murderers
NBC.
and some very bad people.
Yeah.
And I will tell you very strongly, when Bernie Sanders said she had bad judgment,
He's going
she has
over the
really
25
bad judgment
seconds, I
because
think.
we are letting people into this country that
Hillary
are going to cause
thinks-
problems and crime like you've
Hillary's
never seen.
realizing
We're
he's
also
talking
letting
too
drugs
long.
pour through our southern border at a record.
Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah. Shut up.
Shut up, Trump.
It shouldn't
Shut
be
up,
allowed
Trump.
to happen. ICE just endorsed me. They've never endorsed a presidential candidate. The Border
Oh,
Patrol
no.
agents,
Online question for
16,500
Hillary.
just
Show us your
recently
boobies.
endorsed me. And They endorsed me because I understand.
I think everyone would die if that
She wants
happened.
amnesty for everybody. Come
I think
right in,
the universe
come
would
right
begin
over.
to implode.
It's a horrible thing
Well,
she's
they
doing.
don't.
She's
They
got
don't.
bad judgment,
They're black
and
holes,
honestly,
more or
They've,
less.
they've
sad
never
that
introduced
she
a way
should
for
never
people
be
to vote on
president
which
of the
questions are
United
most
States.
important
That I
for the
can tell you.
presidential
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
debates.
I wanna
Because
move
if
on.
they
This next
did,
question comes from the
you
You
know
get
what the
Mountain, you get
questions
Mountain
would
Dew.
be.
Hitler did nothing wrong all over
Coalition's
again.
online forum where Americans submitted questions that generated millions of votes. This question involves WikiLeaks' release of purported excerpts of Secretary
They vet
Clinton's
which
paid
questions
speeches,
people are allowed to
which
vote
she
on,
has
though.
refused to release.
Yes,
and one line
WikiLeaks.
in particular in which you, Secretary,
34
Clinton,
days,
reportedly
Assad.
say
Why
you
didn't you
need
release
both a
them?
public and private
Where's
position
Trump's
on
tax
certain
return?
issues. So, 2 from Virginia asks, is it okay for politicians to be two-faced? Is it acceptable for a politician to have a private stance on
Yes.
issues? Secretary Clinton,
That's
your
every
2
politician
Right.
that's ever lived.
As I recall,
Yeah.
that was something I said about Abraham Lincoln after having seen the wonderful Steven Spielberg movie called Lincoln. It was a master class watching President Lincoln get the Congress to approve the 13th Amendment. It was principled and
What's
it
she
was
talking
strategic.
about?
And I
Something
was
she
making
said
the
after
point
the Lincoln movie.
that it is hard
Okay, I don't
sometimes
see how
to
that's
get the
relevant.
Congress to do what you want to do.
She's
and you have
she's
to keep
ignoring the
working at
WikiLeaks
it.
thing.
And yes, President Lincoln
Trump needs
was
to press
trying
that.
to
Well, no, then
convince some people
they're
to
gonna say,
use
no,
some
Trump, you can't
arguments, convincing
She's trying
other
to appeal
people
to
who used other
neocons right now.
arguments. That was a great.
Neocons don't appeal to
I
Lincoln.
thought
They
a
appeal to
great
Reagan.
display
No,
of
they're-
presidential leadership.
The Republican.
But you know, let's talk
big
about what's
event
really
is
going
called,
on here, Martha,
Lincoln Days,
because
where like
our
all the
intelligence
Republicans get
community
together. I mean,
just came out and said
Republicans
in the
still
last
like
few
Lincoln.
days
Just
that
but Trump
the
people
Kremlin,
don't like Lincoln.
meaning
I don't know,
Putin
son.
and the Russian government, are directing the attacks, the hacking on American accounts to influence our election. And WikiLeaks is part of that, as are other sites.
Actually sounding like a
where
conspiracy
the Russians
theorist.
It's
hack
the
information.
best
We don't
right-wing
even know if it's accurate
conspiracy.
information,
Alex Jones
and then
Clinton.
they put it out.
We're bragging
We
like
have
an Asian
never
egg.
in the
I
history
think
of our
she's going to
country
lose a point for that.
been in a situation where an adversary,
I can't believe
a foreign power,
Clinton is down to
working
1
so
point.
hard to influence the outcome of the election.
Trump is
And
just
believe me,
now Trump. You look
they're
at
not
Trump's
doing it
body
to get
language
me
at this
elected.
point.
He's like
They're doing it
He has
to try to
he has
influence
this
the
immense
election for
confidence
Donald
right
Trump.
now.
Now maybe because
like-
he has praised Putin.
I mean,
He's
he's
like-
you know he's
he's
doing
like
his
a- he's like a
He
tiger.
agrees with a lot of what Putin
He's like a
wants
mob
to do,
boss
maybe
or
back
because
and
he
forth.
wants to do
Check it
business in
out.
Moscow.
Get
I don't
him,
know the
get him,
reasons.
get him.
But we deserve answers.
This is pretty
And
good,
we
isn't
should
it?
demand that
Fritz,
Donald
aren't you
release
glad I
all of
convinced you to
his
come on
tax
to
Yes,
returns
yes, I am,
so
Ben.
that
Thank you
people
for
can see
thank you
what
for convincing
are
me.
the
Oh, she mentioned
entanglements
tax
and the financial
returns.
relationship.
Did she say interns?
No, returns. I said interns because I'm an idiot.
Mr. Trump.
Because so
The
ridiculous.
moderators enter.
I want to see. I want to see Trump. What
They
Trump
get a
says.
point back.
She got caught in a total lie. Her papers went out to all her friends at the banks, Goldman Sachs, and everybody else. And she said things, WikiLeaks,
Ooh.
that just came out. And she lied. Now she's blaming the lie on the late, great Abraham Lincoln. That's one that I haven't.
Oh,
Okay,
no,
Honest Abe.
that was
Honest
a
Abe never
point
lied.
for
That's the good thing.
Trump.
That's the big difference between Abraham Lincoln and you.
Oh,
That's a big difference. We're talking about some difference. But as far as
I
the
think
relevance
Trump
of
is.
what
I
she
think
was
Trump
saying,
is redeeming.
I don't know,
Has
Putin.
redeemed himself at this
I think
point.
it'd be
He's
great if we
back.
get along
This is
with
what I was waiting
Russia,
for.
because we could fight ISIS together, as an example. But I don't know Putin. But I notice anytime anything wrong happens, they like to say the Russians. She doesn't know if it's the Russians doing the hacking. Maybe there is no hacking. But they always blame Russia. And the reason they blame Russia is because they think they're trying to tarnish me with Russia. I know nothing about Russia. I know about Russia, but I know nothing about the inner workings of Russia. I don't deal
can't
with it.
even
I have
find
no
Russia on the
businesses
map.
there. I have no loans from Russia. I have a very, very great
backs-
balance sheet. So great
he
that when I
he
did the
almost
old post
really
office
stepped into
on
something
Pennsylvania
there.
Avenue, the United
Yeah,
States
but he
government,
side-
because of
he
my balance
sidestepped
sheet,
it real
which they
quick,
actually
though.
know very well,
That's good,
chose
isn't
me
it?
to do the old post office.
Certainly
between
doesn't
the
get
White
him a
House
point,
and
but it doesn't
Congress.
lose one either.
Chose me to do the old post office. One of the primary things, in fact,
But I
perhaps the
think
primary
the
thing,
wheels
is
are.
balance sheet.
I think the wheels
But I
are
have no
turning
loans
in the
with
witch's
Russia.
head
You could
over
go
here.
to the United States government, and they
She's
would
getting
probably
she's getting
tell
slowly
you that
lowered
because
into a
they know my
cauldron.
sheet very well. in order to get that development.
She's frozen. Look at her.
Now, the taxes are a very simple thing. As soon as I have
She's
first
got
I
a
pay
plan.
hundreds of millions
There's
of dollars
a plan
in taxes.
going on in that little head of
Many
hers.
of her friends took
Little
bigger
gears are
deductions.
turning.
Warren Buffett
There's
took
the
a massive
little
deduction.
headset that
Soros,
the
who's a
little
friend of
earpiece
hers,
is telling
took
her
a
what to
massive
say.
deduction.
Oh,
Many of the
look at her
people that are
face
giving
when he
her all this money that
mentioned
she can do
Soros.
Many more commercials than me. Took massive
And
deductions.
he shouldn't mention.
I pay.
He really shouldn't mention Soros though, because that kind of, that's kind of conspiracy theorist itself.
Finished, I'll release my returns. I'll be very proud.
She was smiling, and he said Soros, and her face went grim real fast.
Question from Spencer Moss. Spencer?
She's like, Hillary thinks she's got her momentum back.
Good evening. My question is, what specific tax provisions will you change to
I'm
ensure
raising
the
my
wealthiest
wife's
Americans
son.
pay their fair share in taxes?
Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes.
Well, one thing I do is get
Are
rid
you
of carried
kidding
interest. One of the greatest provisions for people like me, to be honest with
Now
you.
booting Clinton
I give up a lot when I run, 'cause
_human.exe.
I knock out the tax cut. And she could have done this years ago. By the way. She's a
better not
USA, she was
load
a
up the
United
Rubio
States
program
senator.
as well.
She complains that Donald Trump took advantage of the tax
Look,
cut.
Obama doesn't want to.
Why didn't she
Obama
change
doesn't
it?
want
Why
to
didn't
change
you
America.
change it when you were
He knows
senator?
exactly what America
the
is
reason
like,
you didn't is that all
right?
your friends take the same advantage that I do, and I do. You have provisions in the tax code that, frankly, we could change, but you wouldn't change it because all of these people give you the money so you can take negative ads on Donald Trump.
Have money.
Okay.
And I say that about a lot of things. You know, I've heard
is that another
people complaining
for
about so
Trump?
many different
I
things
can't
over the years.
seem to
wish you
find
knew this.
anything
But
to
she's
give
been there
Hillary
for 30 years.
points
She's been doing
for.
this stuff. She never changed, and
She
she
is
never
not
will
doing
change.
anything
She never
for
will
herself
change.
at this
We're
point.
getting rid of carried interest.
The media is not going to publish.
I'm
They
lowering
don't want to.
taxes,
They're not going
actually,
to talk
'cause I
about
think
this
it's so
debate.
This
important for
debate is going
corporations
away
because we have
unless.
corporations
Well, how
leaving,
close
massive
are we?
corporations and little ones. Little
Oh,
ones
they
can't
have
afford
another
it.
half hour
We're
to
getting
go,
rid of
though.
regulations, which goes
Wow.
hand in
If
hand
Hillary
with the
starts
lowering of the taxes.
nailing
But we're bringing
Trump
the
in
tax
the
rate down
final
from
third of this,
35%
she
to
could still
15%.
turn this around.
We're cutting taxes for the middle class, and
you
I will
never know
tell
what's
you,
gonna happen.
We are cutting them big league for the middle class.
It's almost like
And I will
football,
tell
where like
Hillary Clinton is
Trump is
raising
now
your taxes,
doing
folks.
really
You can
well.
look at
Now
me.
he needs to
She's
stall,
raising
right?
your
So
taxes
talk about the actual
really high.
specific issues.
And
Yeah,
what that's
all
going
he has
to
to
do
do now
is a
is stall.
disaster for the country. But she is raising your taxes, and I'm lowering your taxes. That in itself is a big difference. We are going to be thriving again. We have no growth in this country. There's no growth. If China has a GDP,
He needs to
of
sound positive from
7%,
now on.
it's like a national catastrophe. We're down at 1%, and that's like no growth. And we're going lower, in my opinion. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that our taxes are so high. Just about
And frankly,
the highest in
honestly,
the world.
we need to do better,
And I'm bringing them down to one of the lower in the world.
Look, I can
And
understand
that's
these
so
people.
important. One
Look,
of the
okay,
most
guys,
important things
being
we
the
can
only
do.
person
But
that's
she's
actually from
raising
New York
everybody's
State
taxes
here, I can actually
massively.
understand these people a
Senator
lot
Clinton, you
better.
have 2 minutes. The question was, what specific tax provisions will
Okay,
change to ensure
what's
the
the witch
wealthiest
gonna
Americans
say?
pay their fair share of taxes?
I'm not from New York
Well,
City. I
everything
don't
you've
know.
heard just now from Donald is not true. I'm sorry I have to keep saying this, but he lives in an alternative reality. And it is sort of amusing to hear somebody who hasn't paid federal income tax in maybe 20 years.
An alt-right reality.
Going to do, but I'll tell you what he's going to do.
Okay.
His
alt-rightality.
plan
She
to
sounds like
give
she's
the
talking
wealthy
to
and
the people
corporations
past Trump.
the
That gets her a
biggest
point.
tax cuts they've ever had, more than the Bush tax cuts by at least a factor of 2. Donald always takes care of Donald and people like Donald, and this would be a massive gift.
You mean your backers?
And indeed, the way that he talks about his tax cuts would end up raising taxes on middle-class families, millions of middle-class families. Now, here's what I want to do. I have said nobody who makes less than $250,000 a year, and that's the vast majority of Americans, as you know,
is she going to get 2
will have
points?
their
Or?
taxes raised, because I think
If
we've
she
got to go where
finishes
the
with a
money is, and the
memorable
money is
soundbite,
with people who've
then
taken
yeah.
advantage of every single break in the tax code. And yes, when I was a senator,
Trump
I
is
did
now
vote
has his
to
back
close
turned on now.
corporate loopholes. I
Oh,
voted to close. I think one of the loopholes he took advantage of when he claimed $1 billion loss that enabled him to avoid paying taxes. I want to have a tax on people who are making $1 million. It's called the Buffett rule. Yes, Warren Buffett is the one who's gone out and said somebody like him should not be paying a lower tax rate than his secretary. I want to have a surcharge on incomes above $5 million. We have to make up for lost times because I want to invest in you. I want to invest in hardworking families.
People don't want to hear more taxes.
It's been
Everybody needs to pay their fair share.
I don't know. There's a lot of people who really hate people who make a lot of money, and Hillary is appealing to.
No, the thing is that the wording people like to hear is make the rich pay their fair share. The thing they don't like to hear is more taxes.
Zero for health and education.
Yeah.
That is wrong. And we're going to make sure that nobody, no corporation, and no individual can get away without paying his fair share.
She did say fair share. Okay, she gets a point, another point for that.
What's the score right now?
The winner in scare quotes 3, Donald Trump 7.
Pages of your
Wow.
1995 tax
Moderators
return
minus
that show
2.
you claimed a $916 million loss, which means you could have avoided paying personal federal income taxes for years. You've said you pay state taxes, employee taxes, real estate taxes, property taxes. You have not answered, though, a simple question. Did you use that $16 million loss to avoid paying
And
personal
frankly,
federal
it's
income
honest.
taxes for
Of course I do. Of course I do. And so do all of her donors, or most of her donors. I know many of her donors. Her donors took massive tax write-offs.
So have
A
you
lot
not
of
paid
my, excuse
personal
me,
federal
Anderson,
income tax?
a lot of my write-off was depreciation and other things that Hillary, as a senator, allowed. And she'll always allow it because the people that give her all this money, they want it. That's why.
Nice.
See, I understand the tax code better than anybody that's ever run for president.
Dang.
Hillary
Does he get another
Clinton, and
point?
It's extremely complex.
Let's see how we finish
Hillary
it.
Clinton has friends that want all
Or if
of
they
these
let him
provisions,
finish it.
including they want the carried interest provision, which is very important to Wall
See,
Street
this scoreboard
people.
was
but
a really
they
good
really
idea,
want the
wasn't
carried
it?
interest provision.
Yes,
which
yes, it
I
was.
believe Hillary's leaving. It's very interesting why she's leaving carried interest. But I will tell you that, number one, I pay tremendous numbers of taxes. I absolutely used it, and so did Warren Buffett,
Joker
and so
over
did
here
George
with her
Soros,
creepy smile.
and so did many of the
She's
other
smiling
people
about something that seems
Hillary
disconnected
is,
from
getting
reality.
money from. Now, I won't mention their names because they're rich, but they're not famous, so we won't make them famous.
Can you say how many years you have avoided
Okay,
paying
that's
personal
a
federal
that's a
income
point
taxes?
for
No,
Trump
but
for that
I pay
whole
tax and I
that
pay
whole
federal tax too. But I have a write-off. A lot of it's depreciation, which is a wonderful charge. I love depreciation. You know, she's given it to us. Hey, if she had a problem, for 30 years she's been doing this, Anderson. I say it all the time. She talks about health care. Why didn't she do something about it? She talks about taxes. Why didn't she do something about it? She doesn't do anything
She's responsible
about
for
anything
everything
other than
that
talk.
the
With her,
entire
it's
political
all
class has
talk
done, and
no
never
action.
mind that there have
And
been
again,
Republicans stopping
Bernie Sanders,
her.
it's
Oh no, that's
really
great for
bad
his
judgment.
own narrative.
She has
Oh, it
made
is,
bad
but
judgment
it's
not only on
complete
taxes,
sophistry.
she's made bad judgments
Yes.
on Libya.
Well, she
on
the
Syria,
thing that
on
works
Iraq.
against Hillary is that
I mean,
is make
and
her into
Obama,
a
whether you
representative
like
of
it
the
or not,
political
the way
class
they got
that
out of
screwed us
Iraq,
over.
The vacuum they've
Yeah.
left, that's why ISIS formed in the first place. They started from that
Okay.
little area, and now they're in 32 different
He shuts
nations.
up right about now.
Congratulations,
Then
great job.
he gets a
Once you
point.
be able to
Yeah, he
respond
did
to
shut
Clinton.
up. All right, he gets a point for shutting up right at the right time.
So now it's
Here we go.
10 to 3.
I've been,
It's
in
9 to
favor
3.
Of getting rid of carried interest for years, starting when I was a senator from New York. But that's not the point here.
Why didn't you
know,
do it? Why didn't you do it?
Because I was a senator with a Republican president.
Oh, really?
I will be the
You could
president.
have done it.
who will
If
be-
you were an effective,
That's
if you were an
exactly
effective
right.
senator, you could have done it. If you were an effective senator, you could have done it. But you were not an effective
Please allow her to
senator.
respond. She didn't interrupt you.
You know,
Yeah,
under our
that's-
Constitution,
The
presidents have
moderators
something
get a
called
point
veto
back for
power.
that.
Look, he has now said repeatedly, 30 years this and 30 years that. So let me talk about my 30 years in public service. I'm very glad to do so.
She might be able to do
Yeah,
something
she
well.
might get a
8
point for
million
this, but
kids
he
every
still
year have health insurance.
has 3
When
times
I
the
was
points
First
she
Lady,
has.
I worked with Democrats and Republicans to create the Children's Health Insurance Program.
Think
Hundreds of
about the
thousands of
children,
kids
the
now
ones
Think
I'm
of the
not
children!
the ones I'm not
Because
aborting.
I
Your,
worked to change our
your
adoption
feelings
and
mean
foster
more
care
than
system.
facts ever could.
After 9/11, I went to work
I
with
was
Republican
there in
mayor,
9/11.
governor, and president to rebuild New York
9/11.
and to get health care for our first responders who were suffering because they had run toward danger and gotten sickened by it. Hundreds of thousands of
distributor
National
makes a
Guard
great
and
point.
Reserve members
To-
have
to
health care
paraphrase Apocalypse
because of
Now,
work that I did.
Faulting someone
And
here for
children
sophistry
have
is like
safer
handing out
medicines because I
speeding
was
tickets
able
at
to pass a
NASCAR.
law that required the dosing to be
Well, especially a
more
politician.
done.
Does Distributors want to
When
come
I was
on?
Secretary of State, I went around the world.
Ask him.
I think he's
advocating
on a
for our country,
plane.
but also
That's why he
advocating
couldn't be
for
on today,
women's
but I'll
rights,
ask him.
to make sure
Okay.
that women had a decent chance to have a better life and negotiated a treaty with Russia to lower nuclear weapons.
That's why you sold them nuclear
400
materials.
pieces of
Okay.
legislation have my name on it.
If she talks about
for 8
equal
years.
pay for equal work again, why doesn't Trump just debunk the?
Did she do that just now?
No, she came close. But if she does, he should just say debunk the wage gap myth, going that they're not they receive that
work, that bipartisan work, that finding common ground. Because you have to be able to get along with people to get things done in Washington.
Thank you, Secretary.
And I've proven that I can.
Clinton
and
has
for 30
not
years,
proven
I've
that.
produced results for people.
Well, she's proven that you can get along with people when you manipulate
I'm
and
sorry,
threaten
she
them.
did not destroy Clinton or Trump's narrative. No point.
We're going to go on. This is about the audience.
Disaster as a
Mr.
senator.
Trump,
A
we're
disaster.
going to move on. The heartbreaking video of a 5-year-old Syrian boy
Even-
named Amran sitting in an ambulance after
Oh,
being pulled
God.
from the rubble after an airstrike.
Oh, I thought that was
in
the kid that was
Aleppo.
on the beach. That
Focus
because he wanted to come as a migrant, that's why he died. So take more migrants.
136 million views on Facebook alone. But there are much worse images coming
Why
out
does
of
that
Aleppo
matter?
every day now,
People
where
are
in the
idiots
past few
on
weeks
Facebook.
Alone, 400 people have been killed, at least 100
Someone
of
at
them
Facebook can press
children.
a button and get
Just
10
days
million
ago,
views
the
for
State
any
Department
video.
called for a war crimes investigation of the Syrian regime of Bashar al-Assad and its ally
Oh,
for their bombardment.
he's the Lion of
Aleppo.
Damascus. He's
So
great.
next
This is an
comes from
overly
social media
emotional
through
question.
Facebook. Diane from
Yes.
Pennsylvania
I'm
asked,
giving them a
if
minus
you were
point for
president,
this
what would you
overly
do about
emotional
Syria
question.
and the
For misleading.
Because
humanitarian crisis in
the only
Aleppo?
question here is,
Isn't it a
what are you
lot
going to
like
do
the
about
Holocaust
Syria?
when
That's
the
all they have
US
to say.
waited too
This long
long
emotional
before we
tirade
helped
is
Secretary
nonsense.
I can tell you what I do, but I'd make the Ottoman Empire great
Well,
again.
the situation in Syria is catastrophic. And every day that goes
Yeah, and
by,
you caused
we
it.
see the results of the regime by Assad in partnership with the Iranians on the ground.
I'm not super
the
interested in
Russians
who's
the air,
right here. There are no good
bombarding
guys in
places,
Syria,
in
as far as I
particular
know.
Aleppo.
What I'm saying is,
where
you know,
there
if you look
are
at what
hundreds of
happens every
thousands of
time,
people,
people like
probably about
Clinton get involved in the
250,000
Middle East and
still
remove
left.
one of the dictators,
And
things
there
end
is
up
a
10 times
determined
worse.
effort by the Russian
I never
government
thought
to destroy
I
Assad
never
is going
thought
to
you'd be
Aleppo
describing George
in
W.
order
Bush
to
as people like
eliminate
Clinton.
the last
That seems
of the
backwards to me, but I've been in
Syrian
partisan
rebels
politics
who
for
were
a
really
long
holding
time.
out
and
It
I
makes
know
sense,
how
doesn't it?
regime. Russia hasn't
I'm
paid
talking
any
about foreign
attention to
policy
ISIS.
wise. They're more or less
interested in
the same.
keeping Assad in
Interventionism.
power. So when I was Secretary of State,
The thing is, Assad's
advocated,
winning the Civil
and I
War. He's
advocate
almost
today,
captured
a
Aleppo.
no-fly zone and safe
You know-
zones. We need some leverage with the Russians.
And doing this is just
because
going to
they're
piss
not
off the
going
Russians.
to,
Do you want to
come
escalate
to
tensions
the
with Russia right now?
negotiating table for a diplomatic resolution unless there is some leverage over them. And we have to work more closely with our partners and allies on the ground.
So,
But
what
I
does
wanna
Trump's new frog
emphasize
face
that
mean?
What is at stake here is the ambitions and the aggressiveness of Russia. Russia has decided
The
that
final
it's
debate,
all in
I have got to
in
get
Syria.
online and research
And
how to
they've also
find some
decided
good
who they wanna
software
see
to
become
draw
president of the United
mustaches
States,
on
too,
people.
and it's not me. I've stood up to
Seriously,
Russia.
because
I've
this is what we
taken
need
on
right
Putin
now.
and
We need
others,
Hitler
and
mustaches
I would
on
do
both
that
of these people.
I want to see Trump with a beard.
Wherever we can
I think he looked good. He looked like Zachary Hell Comstock from
Secretary of
Bioshock
State.
Infinite.
That's how we got a treaty reducing nuclear weapons.
So he looked like
That's how we
Brigham
got
Young?
the sanctions on
Yes.
Iran that put a lid on the Iranian
Trump is
nuclear
Brigham
program
Young. I
without
had
firing
never
a single
thought
shot.
of that being a
so
thing.
I would go to the
No, I'm
negotiating
just saying,
table
he
with
would
I
look
guess he
like
does
a
have
Brigham
like
Young.
all the
but
multiple
I do
partners
support
thing down
the
though.
effort to investigate for crimes, war crimes committed by the Syrians and the Russians and try to hold them accountable.
Only we're allowed to
President
commit war
Bush
crimes
there
and
as
get away with
Secretary of
it.
State with the so-called line in the sand, which
No, I wasn't. I was gone. I hate to interrupt you, but
you
at
were in
some
contact.
point-
Excuse me.
At some point, we need
you
to
were
do
in
some
total
fact-checking
contact
here.
with the White House, and perhaps, sadly, Obama probably still listened to you. I don't think he'd be listening to you very much anymore. Obama draws the line in the sand. It was.
That sounds
left out
really
all over the
mean,
world
though.
what
I don't know
happened.
if he gets a
Now,
point
with
for
that being
that.
said,
He's already got
it's
so
always
many.
tough against Russia, but our nuclear program has fallen.
He is
behind,
breathing a
and
bit too
they've
loudly
gone
into the microphone, though.
wild with their nuclear program.
Don't go.
Our government shouldn't have allowed that to happen. Russia is new in terms of nuclear. We are old, we're tired, we're exhausted in
Now,
terms of
the guy in the chat is tempting me to start asking him questions, but I have to pay attention to the debate right now, otherwise
Russia
I would.
is not new in terms of nukes. Russia got nukes only a few years after we did. They were the second one to
She
get
doesn't even
it.
know who the rebels are. You know, every time we take rebels, whether it's in Iraq or anywhere else, we're arming people. And you know what happens? They end up being worse than the people. Look at what she did in Libya with Gaddafi.
The people end up being worse than the people.
And by the way,
He means the people they're
Yeah, I get that.
I think most Americans are going to give him a point of
He's
that.
not the most eloquent
almost
speaker.
everything she's done in foreign policy has been a mistake, and it's been a disaster. But if you look at Russia, just take a look at Russia, and look at what they did this week, where I agree she wasn't there, but possibly she's consulted. We sign a peace treaty. Everyone's all excited. Well, what Russia did with Assad, and by the way, with Iran, who you made very powerful with the dumbest deal perhaps I've ever seen in the history of deal-making, the Iran deal with $150 billion, with the $1.7 billion in cash, which is enough cash to fill up this room. But look at that deal.
Look at her
Iran now
face.
And Russia are now against us. So she wants to fight. She wants to fight for rebels. There's only one problem. You don't even know who the rebels are.
Mr. Trump,
So
Mr.
what's
Trump,
the
your
purpose?
2 minutes
And one thing
is
I have
up.
to say,
Your 2
I
minutes
don't
is
like
up.
Assad at all, but Assad is killing ISIS. Russia is killing ISIS, and Iran is killing ISIS. And those three have now lined up because of our weak foreign policy.
Mr. Trump, let me repeat the question. If you were president,
Whoa.
what would you do
Does Trump get a
about
point?
Syria and the
No, but the
humanitarian
moderators lose a
crisis
point.
in Aleppo? And I want to remind you what your running mate said. He said provocations by Russia need to be met with American strength, and that if Russia continues to be involved in airstrikes along with the Syrian government forces,
I think they should lose another point for that.
The United States of America should be prepared to use military force to strike the military targets of the Assad regime.
Okay. He and I haven't spoken, and I disagree. I disagree.
You disagree
I think
with your
we have
running
to
mate.
knock out
Ooh.
ISIS. Right now,
That's
Syria
going
is
to be a
fighting
minus
ISIS.
point for Trump.
We have people that want to fight both.
There
at the
was no
same
real
time.
way he could get
But
out of it,
Syria's
yeah.
no longer Syria. Syria's Russia.
Yeah.
And it's Iran, who she
Yeah.
made strong.
He's still
and
crushing her in
and
this debate.
Obama
Oh, yeah.
Made into a
Oh,
very
look at
powerful
this.
nation and a
Did
very
you see
rich
that
nation.
weird zoom
Very, very
in?
quickly.
Yes, I did.
Very
Did
quickly.
they
I
have
have no
like
idea.
a
I believe
freshman
we have to
journalist
get
student controlling the
ISIS.
camera on this
We
thing
have
on
to worry
NBC?
about
I mean,
I'm gonna
ISIS
be on
before
TV.
We can get too much more involved. She had a
Hi,
chance
Mom.
to do something with Syria. They had a chance, and that was the line.
that was like
will
some
happen if
ridiculous
Aleppo
camera
falls?
work
I think
there.
Aleppo
What
is
was
a
that?
disaster
What do you
humanitarian-wise.
think will
It is a
happen if it falls?
I think that it basically has fallen, okay? It basically has fallen.
Seriously,
Let me tell you
somebody needs to
something. You
take
take a look
that
at
moment
Mosul.
of the
biggest
zoom in on
problem I
Clinton's
have
face. And
They're going
Look
to.
at, just look at her right now.
policy.
That's
We
going to
have
be
Mosul.
like
I
a
think
like
lot
a
of the
music
ISIS
video
leaders are in
thing
Mosul.
tomorrow.
So we have announcements coming out of Washington and coming out of Iraq. We will be attacking Mosul in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Well, all of these bad leaders
Another
from
question
ISIS
from the internet.
are leaving Mosul.
But Trump,
Why
what do you
can't
think
they do
about
it quietly?
Putin's
Why can't
abs?
they do the attack?
Well, I
make
think,
it a
frankly,
sneak
honestly,
attack,
to just
and
be
after
honest,
the
you know, because
attack is
I
made,
could not be honest, but I'm an
inform the
honest
American
person.
public
You know
that
that,
we've
right?
knocked out the
But
leaders,
at
we've had
Putin's
a
abs,
tremendous
we
success.
have to, we don't understand.
Why
what,
do they have to say we're going to be attacking Mosul within the next 4 to 6 weeks, which is what they're saying? How
And, you know, you
stupid
ask
is our
Clinton
country?
about
There are
Putin's abs, and
sometimes
she's going to be like,
reasons the
well,
military
I was
does-
Well,
there
honestly, Donald,
during
honestly,
9/11.
Donald, well,
I can't think of any.
It
and
might be
pretty
to
good
help
general-
get
generals.
civilians
I was
out.
there
And we
during
have-
9/11.
I have 200
And think of
generals
the
and admirals.
children.
and
on
I've
this. I have
and I've worked with
21
with both
Congressional
sides of the
Medal
aisle.
of Honor
and
recipients
I have
under-
much experience. And
all the time.
Oh, you're right. That
They
would be her
understand.
response.
Why
there.
can't they do something?
That's
secretly,
truly,
where they
Donald,
go in
you
and
know.
they knock out the leadership. Why would these people stay there? I've been reading now
Tell
for
me
weeks.
what your
Martha, I've been
strategy
reading now
is.
for weeks about Mosul. That
All right,
it's
so
the
should
harbor
I think
of
the moderators
Europe
need to
between Iraq
lose
and
They
another
lose
point.
another
This
point
is
for
where
that.
they
That
think
was
the ISIS leaders
that
are.
was
Why would they be saying
that was a
I mean,
confrontational,
I mean,
partisan
it's good for,
question.
in one way, it's good for Clinton because now she doesn't have to say anything. But having to debate with the moderators hurts.
Trump's going on too long.
Well, they're debating him now.
Yeah, the moderators are arguing with him
Well, yeah,
straight up.
but Trump's talking
General
too
Douglas
long.
MacArthur
I think he's losing
in their
people.
grave at the stupidity of what we're doing in the Middle East.
I'm going to go to Secretary Clinton. Secretary
He
Clinton,
went
you
on
want
too
us
long.
to go.
If he does anything else dumb like that, he'll lose a point.
Like that may be too late for Aleppo. You talk about diplomatic efforts; those have failed. Ceasefires have failed.
Is this a softball question
Would you
to Clinton?
introduce the threat
No,
of
it's
US
not. It's kind of saying her policies have failed.
beyond a no-fly zone against the Assad
You're right,
regime
you're
to
right.
back up diplomacy?
And this is a good question. What would you use troops on the ground?
American
Wasn't
ground
as hardball
forces
as the
in
Trump
Syria.
question, but
I think that would be
yeah.
a very serious mistake. I don't think American troops should be holding territory, which is what they would have to do as an occupying force. I don't think that
Nobody
is a smart
likes
strategy.
a war.
I
so.
do think the use
Well,
of
especially
special
a war
forces,
we've already
which we're
fought
using,
twice.
Yeah, I
the
think she
use
gets a
of,
point for that.
Enablers and trainers in Iraq, which has had some positive effects.
Nobody likes
are
a
very
war.
much in our
Nobody
interest,
likes a
and
war.
so I do support what is happening.
She sounds like she's promising
what
there's
would
not
you
going
do
to be a
differently
war.
than President Obama
And
is
that
doing?
is a point.
Martha, I hope that by the time
That makes her more powerful, promising
I hope by
that.
the time I am president that
I'm
we
interrupting.
will
By the
have
time I am
pushed
president, because it is a
ISIS
pretty
out of
sure
Iraq.
thing, even with
I
this
do
debate
think
performance.
that there is a good
I
chance
still
that
think
we can
that
take
Hillary's
Mosul.
going to win the election.
I mean,
You know,
I think
Donald says he knows more
this
about
is
ISIS
kind
than
of
the
canceled out
generals.
the whole Trump
No, he
tape thing.
doesn't.
Yeah, but
there
Hillary's
are
still
a lot
winning.
Of, very
I guess,
important
yes.
planning going
She was
on.
winning
Some
before
of it
that, and-
is to signal
but Trump has successfully
to the
overcome
Sunnis in the area as well as
Yeah,
Kurdish
even if she does
Kashmir
okay,
fighters,
even if she kind of
that we all need to
catches
be
up,
in this, and that
catches
takes a
up,
lot of
he's still
planning
kind
and
of
preparation.
redeemed himself.
It would have been so much smarter to sit on those tapes until right before the election.
Because I think our
Yes,
targeting
well, I don't think they didn't because he didn't
because
because he did so poorly in the first debate. They didn't expect him to be doing this.
They're probably going to leak some more tapes right before the third debate, the ones that are actually racist.
I thought this was the last debate.
As well as
no, there's 3 debates.
And
I thought the third one. I thought the
there's
second one was the vice presidential one.
No, there are 3 presidential debates and 1 vice
So the
presidential
Kurdish
debate.
and Arab fighters on the ground are the
I
principal
think
way
that's off the top
that
of my
we
head. That's
take
what I remember
Raqqa
from
after
previous
pushing
campaigns.
ISIS out of Iraq.
Thank you very much. We're going to
You know
move
what's
on.
funny? She went over a minute over, and you don't stop her.
Oh,
1 second over. It's like
You had many answers.
It's really very
We've
interesting.
got a question over here from James Carter. Mr. Carter?
That right there.
Jimmy Carter?
Makes me almost want to vote.
Oh, it's a black guy. Oh, they're going to talk about black people now.
Oh, it's
Do
Black
you
Lives
can do
Matter
people
time.
of color.
believe you can be a devoted president to all the people in the United States?
That question begins for Mr. Trump.
You know what? That wasn't that bad of a question.
I mean,
That was a good
she
question.
calls
Oh.
our people
okay.
deplorable, a large group.
Oh,
irredeemable.
The
Point for Trump.
deplorable thing. Oh,
I will be a president for all of our people, and I'll
if
be
he
a
carries this
president
off, if he
that will
ends
turn
on
our inner
a good
cities
note,
around,
then he
and will
gets
give
another
strength
point.
to people, and will give economics to people, and will bring jobs back. Because NAFTA, signed by her husband, is perhaps the greatest disaster trade deal in the history of the world. Not in this
Now
country.
he sounds like he's
It
deflecting,
stripped
though.
us of manufacturing jobs.
Yeah.
We lost our jobs. We lost our money. We lost our plants. It is a disaster. And now she wants to sign TPP, even though she says now she's for it. She called it the gold standard. And by the way, at the last debate, she lied because it turned out that she did say the gold standard, and she said she didn't say it. They actually said that she lied, okay? And she lied, but she's lied about a lot of things. I would be a president for all of the people, African Americans, the inner cities. Devastating.
He's looking
what's
at her and
happening to inner
telling
cities.
this.
She's been talking
That
about
might be
it for
a bit
years.
smart.
As usual, she talks about it, nothing happens. She doesn't get it done. Same with the Latino Americans, the Hispanic Americans. The same exact
Aren't
thing.
they the same?
They talk. They don't
They
get
are.
it done. You go
I thought
into the
those
inner
were both the
cities
same
and you see it's
group. I could be
45%
wrong. I
poverty.
don't know.
Hispanic and Latino are
African
essentially the same
Americans
group.
have 45%
People of,
poverty in the inner
Latin
cities.
American /
The
Spanish
education
descent.
is a
Ron
disaster.
Paul's ears just perked up with
Jobs
gold
are
standard.
essentially non-existent.
What? Gold standard?
I mean, it's.
Are we going to end the
and
Fed
I've been
again?
saying at big speeches where I have 20 and 30,000
Are we going to have liberty?
people, what do you have to lose? It can't get any
Do you
worse.
like my Ron
And she's
Paul
been
impression?
talking about the
That
inner
was
cities
perfect.
for 25
That
years.
was perfect.
Nothing's going to ever happen. Let me tell you.
We
if
have
she's
to
president of
restore
the United
liberty
States,
to
nothing's gonna happen.
America.
It's just going to be talk. And all of her friends, the taxes
We are
were
a free,
talking about,
peaceful country.
and I would just get it by osmosis. She's not doing any me favors. But by doing all the others favors, she's doing me favors.
Mr. Trump, thank you.
Forget about it.
I will tell you.
Forget about it.
It doesn't get done. All you have to do is take a look at her Senate run. Take a look at upstate New York.
Your 2 minutes is up. Secretary Clinton,
he
2 minutes.
gets a 10 minute.
You have 2 minutes, Secretary Clinton.
He's got 10. Hillary's got 4.
67% of the people voted to re-elect me when I ran for my second term, and I was very
that's
proud
because
and very
she's in
humbled
New
by that.
York, which is one of the
Carter,
safest Democrat seats that there is.
I have tried
Unfortunately,
my
because
entire
again,
life
upstate New York is largely
to
Republican.
do what I can to support
Upstate
children
New
and
York.
families.
Yeah.
You know, right out of
I mean,
law
except the
school,
cities
I went
are
to work for the
Democrat, but-
Children's Defense
Yeah,
Fund. And
but
Donald
she's
talks a
running
lot
in the
about,
safe areas.
You know,
Yes.
the 30 years I've been in public service. I'm proud of that.
30
You know,
years,
I started
30
off
years.
as a young lawyer working against discrimination against African American children
And getting
in
child rapists off and
schools
laughing
in
about
the
it.
criminal justice system.
Supporting
I
a
worked to
Republican
make
named
sure
Barry
that kids with
Goldwater.
disabilities could get a
Goldwater,
public
yeah.
education, something that I
I
care
liked Goldwater,
very
but-
much about. I have worked with Latinos. One of my first jobs in politics was down in South Texas, registering
having
Latino
sex with a
citizens
Latino
to
man.
be able to vote. So I have a deep devotion
Why,
to
were they
use
illegal
your
immigrants?
absolutely correct word, to making sure that every American feels like he or she has a place in our country. And
Unless they're in
I
part
think
of
when
the
you
basket
look
of
at
deplorables.
the letters that I get, a lot of people are worried that maybe they wouldn't have a place in Donald Trump's America. They write me, and one woman wrote me about her son, Felix. She adopted him from Ethiopia when he was a toddler. He's 10 years old now. This is the only country he's ever known. And he listens to Donald on TV, and he said to his mother one day, will he send me back to Ethiopia if he gets elected?
Oh,
You know,
shut
children
up.
listen to what is being said. To go back to the
Am I the only one here?
very first question.
Sorry.
And there's a lot of fear that, in
okay,
fact,
that's the
teachers and
point
parents
for,
are calling
quote,
it the Trump
winner,
effect.
Unquote.
Bullying.
Crocodile
A lot of
tears.
people are feeling
The crocodile
you know,
tears, I think they're
uneasy
gonna
Oh,
work.
she
about
just
kids or
mentioned
expressing
bullying.
their concerns. So first and
Yeah,
foremost,
I think that's going to work.
I will do everything I can to reach out to everybody,
Secretary
Democrats, Republicans, independents, people across our country.
They're
If you
trying to
don't
tell
vote
her
for me,
about
I still want to be your president.
Your
I
2
want to
minutes
be
is
the
up.
best president I can be for every American.
Secretary Clinton, your 2 minutes
If you
is up.
don't
I
vote
want
for
to
me,
follow up
I'm
on something
still
Donald
going to be your
Trump actually
president.
said to you.
Dun dun dun.
I think she actually gets a point for that last comment as well.
I don't think so.
Sexist, homophobic, xenophobic,
I think it worked.
Islamophobic. You later said you regretted saying half. You didn't express regret for using the term deplorables.
Yes, all
So Mr. Carter's
of them are
question, how
deplorable.
can you unite a country if you've written off tens of millions of Americans?
All right.
Well, within hours,
that takes
I
away
said
one
that
of the
I was sorry
overly
about the
emotional
way
questions
I
they asked.
talked
So
about
that's a
that because
-3 for
my
the
I
moderators.
want
is
to listen
not
to how
with his
she
supporters.
flips
It's with him and with the hateful and divisive campaign that he has run and the inciting of violence at his rallies and the very
Trump's inciting
brutal
violence.
kinds of comments.
Yeah, and Black
about
Lives Matter
not just
never
women,
incites
but all
violence.
Americans, all kinds
Didn't do
of
nothing.
Americans.
Didn't
good
do
boy.
nothing.
What he
He had
has said
Skittles.
about African Americans and Latinos, about Muslims,
What did he say about African Americans? How is Trump
about
like Hitler?
immigrants,
Are you
about
kidding
people
me?
with disabilities, he's never apologized for. And so I do think that a lot of the tone and tenor that he has said, I'm proud of the campaign that Bernie Sanders and I ran. We ran a campaign based on issues, not insults, and he is supporting
not
me
you and
100%
Bernie Sanders
because we talked
or
about what we
you.
wanted to do. We might have had some differences, and we had a lot of
Thank you,
debates,
Secretary.
but we believed that we could make the country better.
I don't
and
think
was
she gets
proud
the
of
point
that.
for
I'll give you a
this.
minute, 20
We
seconds.
have a divided nation. We have a very divided nation. You look at Charlotte, you look at Baltimore.
And neither one of you is going to
look
fix
at
it.
The violence that's taking place in the inner cities, Chicago. You take a look at Washington, D.C. We have a increase in murder within our cities, the biggest in 45 years. We have a divided nation because people like her, and believe me, she has tremendous hate in her heart. And when she said deplorables, she meant it. And when she said irredeemable, they're irredeemable. You didn't mention that. But when she said they're irredeemable, to me that might have been even worse.
She said
She's
some of
got
them are
She's got tremendous hatred. And this country cannot take another 4 years of Barack Obama, and that's what you're getting with her.
Mr. Trump, let me follow up with you. In 2008, you wrote in one of
Do you
your
think she
books
gets a-
that the
do you
most
think he gets a
important
point for that?
characteristic of a good leader is discipline. You said if
Ben?
a leader doesn't have it, quote, he or she
Ben?
won't be one for very long.
I don't know.
In the days after the first debate, you sent out a series of
already
tweets
has
from
so
3
many
a.m. to
points.
5 a.m., including one that told people to check out a sex
I don't know
tape.
if that was...
Is that the discipline of a good
No,
leader?
it wasn't check out a sex tape. It was just take a look at the person that she built up to be this wonderful Girl Scout who was no Girl Scout. By the way, just so you understand.
Is he saying that
when she
being a
said
Girl
3
Scout
o'clock
is
in the
actually a
morning,
good thing?
Take a look at Benghazi.
So I'm
She
not
said,
buying that.
Who's going to
It's
answer
supposed to
the
be kinda
call
like
at 3 o'clock in the
innocence.
morning? Guess what? She
Well,
didn't
that would
answer
work
because
if it was
when
the Boy
Ambassador
Scouts, but the
Stevens-
Girl Scouts are pretty much in
Wait a
Planned
minute,
Parenthood's pocket.
600 times. Well, she said she was
And
awake
they
at
let
3
boys
o'clock in
in.
the morning. And she also sent a tweet
Oh,
out
they
at 3
did?
o'clock
Oh,
in the
yeah,
morning, but I
yeah,
won't even
trans-
mention
The transgender
it.
thing.
She
Yeah,
said
voices
she'll be
say that
awake.
they're
Who's the
trans.
famous thing? We're going to answer our call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Guess what happened? Ambassador Stevens sent 600
Oh, he's gonna bring up
requests
Libya.
for help. And the only one she talked to was Sidney Blumenthal, who's her friend and not a good guy, by the way. So, you know, she shouldn't be talking about that. Now, tweeting happens to be a modern day form of communication. I mean, you can like it or not like it. I have, between Facebook and Twitter, I have
The
almost
girl
25
wink,
million
wink
people.
Scouts.
It's a very effective way of communication. So you can put it down, but it is
Yeah.
a
Human
very
being
effective
scouts.
form of
I
communication.
have to say
I'm not
very
unproud
seriously
of it, to be honest
that
with you.
any
Secretary Clinton,
parents
does
who
Mr. Trump
have
have the discipline to be a
children
good
in the
leader?
Girl Scouts,
No.
I'm
you
shocked to
are
hear that.
being a bad parent.
Well,
Get out of the
it's
Girl
not
Scouts
only
now.
My opinion, it's the opinion of many others, national security experts, Republicans,
That
former
was not a
Republican
joke.
members
Okay,
of
the rest of
Congress.
this
I think
has
you
been
should get a
joke.
point.
That
I think
part
you
was
should get
not a joke.
Back to the debate. I
Those of
think
us who have
yeah, I know you
had
hate
the
the Girl
great
Scouts because they
privilege
charge you
of
too much for
seeing
cookies, but
this
I
job
think
up close
no, the
he
cookies
should get a
are
point for
fine.
Libya.
That's what
I think he
It's
needs to
not
get a
just
point for
because
Libya.
I watched
And
my
flipping it and
husband
calling
take
her the
a
hateful
$300
one.
billion deficit and turn it into a $200 billion surplus and 23 million new jobs.
I mean, when you
created,
legalize
and incomes went
prostitution
up
in the
for
White
everybody.
House, you do get money.
Wait, Hillary's sounding good
African-American
now.
incomes went up 33%. And it's not just because
Prosperity
I
in
worked
the
with George
90s.
W.
Remember
Bush
how
after
great the 90s
9/11.
was?
And I
And
was
now
very
9/11
proud
again.
that when I told him what the city needed, what we needed to recover, he said, "You've got it," and he never wavered. He stuck with me. And I have worked, and I admire President Obama. He inherited the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. That was a terrible time.
Everything
for
is
our
Bush's
country.
fault.
9 million people
Secretary
lost.
No, it wasn't.
5 million homes were lost.
She doesn't get a
and
point
$30 billion
because she's
in
appealing
family
to the
wealth was wiped
popularity
out.
of
We are
Obama,
back
which is
on the
like
right track.
trying to stay
He
afloat
would send
by
us
standing
back
on
into
the deck of the
recession with his
Titanic.
tax plans.
Yeah.
Secretary Clinton, we are moving to an audience question. We're almost out of time. We have
the
another.
slowest growth
Mr. Trump, you're moving to the audience.
No, Trump's gonna go. Fuck you guys. I'm gonna talk.
Secretary Clinton, we
And
want to get
jobs
to
are a
the
disaster.
audience. Thank you very much, both of you.
These moderators,
We have
they're getting
another audience
destroyed.
question. Beth
I know.
Miller has a
We
question
thought we
for
were
both
going to become the new
candidates.
presidents.
Good evening. Perhaps the most important aspect of this election is the Supreme Court justice. What would you prioritize as the most important aspect of selecting a Supreme Court justice?
Social justice or
We begin with
literacy?
your 2 minutes, Secretary Clinton.
Thank you. Well, you're right. This is one of the most important
I'm gonna
issues
kill
in this
more
election.
babies.
I want to
Moloch must be
appoint
satisfied.
Supreme Court
Kill more
justices who
babies,
understand the
basically.
way the world really works.
The way the world
who
really
have
works.
Real life experience, who have not just been in a big law firm and maybe clerked for a judge and then gotten on the bench, but
Like
you know,
you?
maybe they tried some more cases. They actually understand what people are up against, because I think the current court has gone in the wrong direction.
I think you should just create
And
a
so I
straw
would
man.
want to
Wait a
see,
minute. The current court has
Supreme
gone in the
Court,
wrong direction?
reverse Citizens United.
Been in the
and
wrong
get
direction for
dark,
200
unaccountable
years.
money out of our politics.
Wait.
Donald doesn't
Citizens
agree with
United.
that. I would like the Supreme Court to understand that
remember
voting
which
rights
way
are still a
Citizens
big
United
problem
went
in many
now.
parts of
I
our
think they were kind of
country.
anti-Clinton.
That we don't always do everything we
Maybe.
can to make it possible for people of color and older people and young people to be able to exercise
She successfully
their franchise.
bamboozled me.
I want a Supreme Court that will
Does she
stick
get a quarter
with Roe
point?
v. Wade and a woman's right to choose, and
Oh,
I want a Supreme Court
that's not
that
gonna
will
get her a
stick
point.
with marriage equality.
Yeah, that's
Now,
not
Donald
getting
has
her a
put forth
point.
the names of some people that he would consider, and among the ones that he has suggested are people
People
who
who
would
are
reverse
pro-life.
Roe v. Wade and reverse marriage equality. I
Good.
think that would be a terrible
Good.
mistake and would take us backwards. I want a Supreme Court
She
that
didn't
doesn't
say she
always
would
side
reverse gay
with corporate
marriage.
interests. I want a
He didn't
Supreme
say
Court that
he would.
understands because
She's
you're
saying
wealthy
he
and you
would.
can give more money to something
okay.
doesn't mean you have any more rights or should have any more rights than anybody else. So I
Yeah,
have
but
very clear
look,
views
honestly,
about what I
honey,
wanna see to
that's how it
kind of
works.
change the balance
The more money you
on
have,
the
the more
Supreme
pull you
Court.
I
got.
think the
And I
Republicans
That's how you're
recently that
running.
the Senate has
care
not
a
done their
lot
job,
more about the Supreme Court
and they
than
have
the
not
Democrats.
permitted a vote on the
And
person
I don't
that
think she's
President
getting a point
Obama,
for this.
a highly qualified person. They've not given him a vote to be able to have
Another
the full
Jewish guy.
complement of
That would
9
basically
Supreme
make
Court
half of our
justices.
Supreme Court Jewish.
I think that was a dereliction of duty. I hope that they
Of
will
all the
see
people on the Supreme
their
Court,
way to
4 of them
doing
are
it,
Jewish,
but
4 of
if
them are
I
Catholic.
am so fortunate enough as to be president,
That
I
is
will
not very
immediately,
representative of the
move
U.S.,
to
is
make
it,
sure
Ben?
that we fill that. We have 9
Thank you,
justices
Secretary
that get to
Clinton.
work
No.
on behalf of our people.
Thank you. You're out of time, Mr. Trump.
Justice Scalia, great judge, died recently.
We're going to...
And we have a vacancy. I am looking to appoint judges very much in the mold of Justice Scalia. I'm looking for judges.
I don't always agree
and I've
with
actually
Scalia.
picked 20 of them.
He was pro-life.
More than
So
the
that
others,
people would
though.
see. Highly respected.
I don't always
highly
agree
thought
with
of,
any of
and
them.
actually very beautifully reviewed by just about everybody. But people that will respect the Constitution of the United States. And I think that this is so important. Also, the Second Amendment, which is totally under siege.
He's got to
by
make his points, but he's
people
got to
like
keep
Hillary
it short.
Clinton.
Shorter
They'll
than
respect
Clinton.
the Second Amendment and what it stands for.
And if he
what
doesn't,
it
then he's
represents.
going to lose a point over
So
this.
important to me. Now, Hillary mentioned something about contributions, just so you understand. So I will have in my race more than $100 million put in of my money, meaning I'm not taking all of this big money from all of these different corporations like she's doing. What I ask is this. So I'm putting in more than, by the time it's finished, I'll have more than $100 million invested. Pretty much self-funding mine. We're raising money for the Republican Party, and we're doing tremendously on the small donation, $61 average or so.
Shut up.
Hillary, why doesn't she make
3,
$250 million
2,
by being
1.
in office? She used the power
Okay,
of her
that's
office
losing
to
a
make a lot of
point.
money. Why isn't she
For every
funding?
10
not for
seconds he
100
goes
million,
from
but
this
why
point
don't you
on,
put
he
10
loses
or
another
20,
point.
No,
25,
no,
$30 million
no.
I guess you're
into your
right.
own
That's too
campaign.
much. But losing a
It's
point,
$30
definitely.
million less for special interests that will tell you exactly what to do. And it would really, I think, be a nice sign to the American public. Why aren't you putting some money in? You have a lot of it. You've made a lot of it because of the fact that you've been in office. You made a lot of it while you were Secretary of State, actually. So why aren't you putting money into your own campaign? I'm just curious.
Well,
Thank you very much.
That-
We're going to get on
give
to
him a
one more
point.
question.
Give him a
The
point.
question was about the Supreme Court, and I just want to quickly say,
Very quickly.
Yeah,
I
he gets a
respect the
point for
Second
that.
Amendment.
And the moderators.
But I believe there
She's
should
trying
be
to-
comprehensive
The moderators are letting her
and we should
talk.
Close the gun show loophole and
They get a-
close
they
the
get a
online
minus a
loophole.
point for
We
this.
have one more question,
Many
Mrs.
lives
Clinton.
She's
as we
whinging on
possibly
about
can.
guns
One more
now for
question
some
from
reason.
Ken Bone
Because
about,
Trump
energy
brought that
policy.
up randomly.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
What
They get
steps
that
will
point
your
back.
energy
That wasn't
policy
too
take
bad,
to
I
meet
guess.
our energy needs, while at the same time remaining environmentally friendly.
We're gonna start
and
burning
minimizing
fat
job
people.
loss for fossil power plant workers.
Absolutely. I think it's
How
a
can
great
we do
question
two
because
mutually
energy is
contradictory
under siege
courses of
by
action?
the Obama administration, under absolute siege.
Oh, Cole.
The EPA,
He
Environmental
could
Protection
again turn this into
Agency,
something good.
is killing these energy companies. And foreign companies are now coming in, buying
look
so
at
many of our
Clinton.
different plants, and then
She's
rejiggering
like-
the plant
He's
so that they can take
defending
care
the
of their
energy
oil.
companies.
We are killing.
That is the
absolutely
worst
killing
thing.
our
The
energy
How dare
worst
they
thing
provide
you can
power
do.
and save people's lives?
I know, but
Alternative
it doesn't
forms of
matter.
energy, including
The
wind,
energy
including
companies
solar,
are so
etc.
demonized in the minds
But
of the
we need
American
much
people
more than wind
that
and solar.
defending
he
them
needs-
makes
brought up-
him
You look at our
sound
miners.
bad.
Hillary Clinton
He
wants
needs to
put
have
all
brought up
miners out of
the
business.
If he doesn't finish
Oh,
this
no,
on a
he-
zinger, he's going to lose a
He
point.
just said the coal miners. He just said the
will
coal
last
miners.
for 1,000 years in this country. Now
1,000
we have natural
years?
gas and so many other things.
Oh,
because
gosh,
of
now he sounds like a
technology.
Nazi.
We have unbelievable. We have found over the last 7 years, we have found tremendous wealth right under our feet. So good, especially when you have 20 trillion in debt. I will bring our energy companies
Because the
back.
debt affects how
They'll
much
be able
natural
to compete.
resources there
They'll
are.
make money. They'll pay off our national debt. They'll pay off our tremendous budget deficits, which are tremendous. But we are putting our energy companies out of business. We have to bring back our workers.
No one's going to
You
believe
take a look
that.
at what's happening to steel and,
Clinton,
the cost of
this is
steel,
easy
and China
for
dumping
Clinton.
vast amounts of steel all over the United States.
I'm sorry,
which
defending the
essentially
energy
killing
companies
our
is a
steel
minus
workers
point
and
on
our steel
Trump.
companies.
No, he just doesn't
We
get one.
have to guard
She
our
has the
energy
opportunity
companies.
to
We have
gain
to make
one.
it possible. The EPA is so restrictive that they are putting our energy companies out of business. And all you have to do is
He's
go to a
right,
great place like
but
West Virginia.
it's stupid for him to
places
say all
like
this.
He should have just
Ohio,
stayed
which is
on coal
phenomenal,
miners.
or places like
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
And
you
he's
see
still
what
talking.
they're doing to the people, miners
He's a politician
and
now.
others
That's
in
what
the
they
energy
do.
business.
That's
It's a
all they
disgrace.
do.
Time is
is
up. Thank you,
It's an absolute disgrace.
And actually,
Secretary Clinton, 2 minutes.
Man, that was rough for Trump.
Well, that was very interesting. First of all,
That's very.
China is illegally dumping steel in the United States, and Donald Trump is buying it to build his buildings, putting steel workers and American steel
Snap,
plants
that is a
out of
point for
business.
Clinton right
Yes.
there.
That's something that I fought against as a senator, and that I would
She
have
is sounding so good
a
right
trade
now.
prosecutor to make sure that
I don't think it's going to be
get
enough to bring her
taken
back,
advantage
though.
of
Do you
by
think?
China on
The
steel or
score is
anything
7
else.
to 10.
You know, because it
How
sounds
did it get
like
that
you're
high?
in the business or you're aware
No,
of
it's
people
11
in the
to 10.
business.
It's
You
11
know
to 7.
that we are now, for the first time ever, energy independent.
He
We are
he
not
didn't lose a
dependent
point
upon the
that
Middle
you thought he
East.
would.
But the Middle East still
he
controls
was
a lot
still
of the prices.
talking
So the
and
price
talking.
of oil has
People
been
don't
way
like
down.
that.
He got a
That
point
has
back. He got a
had
point back
damaging
because he made a
effect
good
on a
point.
lot of the oil companies, right?
Making a good point
We
is
are,
not what
however,
gets you these.
producing a lot of natural
making
gas.
a good.
No,
which
you
serves as a
agreed that he
bridge
should
to
get a point
more,
back.
Renewable fuels.
I gave him
and
one
I think
back.
that's an important
So he should have 11.
transition.
No,
We've got to remain
he's got
energy
10 because
independent.
he lost
it gives
one
us
earlier.
much more
Yes, but he
power
gained it back.
and freedom than to be
That gets him
worried
back to
about what
10.
goes
Do you wanna
on
have
in
it-
the
do you wanna
Middle
have
East.
it-
We have enough
no, it gets
worries
him back
over
to
there
11.
without having to worry about that. So I have a comprehensive energy policy, but it really does include fighting climate change, because I think that is a serious problem. And I support moving toward more clean, renewable energy as quickly as we can, because I think we can be the 21st century clean energy superpower and create millions of new jobs and businesses. But I also want to be
she's
sure
stealing
that
Trump's
we don't leave
points
people
now.
behind. That's why I'm the only
Yeah,
candidate
he did a bad
from the
thing.
very beginning of this campaign who had a plan.
But I'm
to
not giving her
help
a
us
point because
revitalize
I
coal
gave Trump
country.
10
because
earlier,
those coal
so
miners and their
instead
fathers
of
and their
11, so.
grandfathers, they dug that coal out. A lot of them lost their lives. They were injured. But they turned the lights on and they powered our factories. I don't want to walk away from them.
Okay,
So we've
I'll
got to do
give them
something
both
for them.
a point.
But the price of coal
Okay.
is down
Fine.
worldwide.
Just people
so
in
we
the
have
chat
to look
are
at this
saying I was
comprehensively,
wrong.
and that's exactly what I have proposed. I
Whatever.
hope you will go to HillaryClinton.com
We have time for one more.
look at my entire
The
policy.
moderators are
Audience
making
question.
Clinton shut up.
Did
They
one
get a
more
point back.
question, and it comes from Carl Becker.
Hello.
Good evening. My question to both of you is, regardless of the current rhetoric, would either of you name one positive thing that you respect in one another?
And will you lick my glasses?
I should just say no. I'm not gonna do it.
Trump's like,
well, I
I
certainly
want to see them
because,
squirm now.
I think that's a very fair and important question.
This is a hard one for
I
Hillary.
respect his children. His children are
Think of the
incredibly
children.
able
She
and devoted.
she nailed
and
it.
I think that
9.
says a lot about Donald. I
No.
don't agree with nearly anything else he says or does, but I do respect that. And I think that is something that as a mother and a grandmother is very important to me.
Yeah, she
so
she was in a hard
I
position,
believe that
and she totally
this
stuck
election
that.
has become in
What do you
part
call it?
so
She nailed it.
so conflict oriented, so intense, because there's a lot at stake. This is not an ordinary time, and this is not an ordinary election. We are going to be choosing a president who will
say
set
something
policy
positive,
for
man.
not just 4 or 8 years, but because of some of the important decisions we have to make here at home and around the world from the Supreme
Like,
Court to
why
energy
can't
and
we
so much
end
else.
this debate on like
And so there
a note
is
of, like,
a lot at stake.
peace
It's
and
one of the most
love, man?
consequential
Yeah,
elections that
totally.
we've had.
We just gotta be in
And
love
that's why
with
I
each
tried to
other,
put
you know?
forth specific
just
policies
be chill.
and plans.
Come on, I
trying
mean,
to get it off
what?
of the
That's why all
personal
the
and put it
problems
on
exist.
to
It's
what
not
it is I
because of
want to
any real
do as
policies.
president.
It's just
And
gotta
that's why
chill,
I hope
man.
people
She's
will,
talking too long.
check on that for themselves so that they can see.
If she doesn't shut
that,
up pretty
yes,
soon,
I've
she's
spent
going to
30
lose that
years,
point she just got.
Actually, maybe a little more, working to help kids
Now
and families.
she's
And
doing
I want
that
to take
Sarah
all that
Palin
experience
thing.
To the White House and do
I
that
think she
every
should lose
single
one
day.
now.
No, she just quit.
I consider
she almost
her
lost.
statement
I wanna
about my
see what he
children
says.
to be a very nice compliment. I don't know if it was meant to be a compliment, but it is a great. I'm very proud of my
Ooh.
children, and they've done a wonderful job, and they've been wonderful, wonderful kids. So I consider that a compliment. I will say this about Hillary: she doesn't quit. She doesn't give up. I respect that. I tell it like it is. She's a fighter.
That sounds good,
I disagree
actually.
with much of what she's fighting for. I do disagree with her judgment in many cases. But she does fight hard, and she doesn't quit, and she doesn't give up. And I consider that to be a very good trait.
Thanks to both of you.
That was poignant.
That makes him sound really
the
fair-minded.
university here.
And
This
gracious.
concludes the town hall meeting. Our
So,
thanks to
yeah.
the candidates, the commission, Washington
But
University,
the score
and to
is
everybody who watched.
9
Tune
to
in
12.
on October 19th for the final
How much-
presidential
October
debate, which will
19th.
take place at the University of Nevada, Las
At
Vegas.
the gates of
Good night,
hell.
everyone.
Oh, it is the gates of hell. It's Las Vegas.
October 19th is a Wednesday. So,
All right.
Make sure and everybody
Includes
come back.
90 minutes
Oh, do they
of
shake
a
hands?
feisty
They did
presidential
shake
debate.
hands.
Donald Trump and Hillary
Ah.
Clinton shaking hands at the end.
So,
which you may
what's
have
the
noticed
final
they
score,
did-
Ben?
The final score is, quote, the winner, unquote, which I actually went and edited the name to add the scare quotes halfway through. It started out as the winner, has 9 points, while the Trump train has 12 points.
And how many?
The
And the
moderators
moderators
have -3. They were hovering between -3 and -4 most of the time.
Well, want to start giving our thoughts on this?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Matt, do you have anything to say about what you thought about this?
Trump killed it. I was happy.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing is he managed to pull off what I thought the only thing that could save him would be Hillary Clinton collapsing, but he managed to do it rhetorically instead. He basically turned it around, and now it seems that the tapes, if he had basically acted like he did at the beginning of the debate, all defeated and such, this would have been the end of his campaign. But the fact is, he turned it around, and he slowly did it, and now people have forgotten about the tapes because they can't bring it up again, because then they just seem like they're nagging because he keeps saying, well, I've apologized for it, and it's just words. I think he resurrected himself. It's still, I disagree with Ben. I think it's going to be a close race. Either one of them does have a chance of winning.
I think
It's
it'll be
it's
fairly
leaning towards
close, but
it'll
think
lean towards
Clinton will
Clinton.
win.
It's going to be within 5 points.
Yes, yeah. Before this debate, I thought it might be up to as much as 10 points, but after this debate, I'm thinking Trump got back to where it's sort of Hillary's sort of 5 percentage points ahead of him.
Or a little less than that, yes.
Here's
so that
Trump's
I am thoroughly
schmoozing
impressed
with all of those audience members.
I turned off the debate thing.
Oh, I have it playing just because it,
All right, I'll put it back on.
Well, you don't have to. Oh, there's Chelsea. See, this is this. Keep it. It's good to keep it playing. I always turn it off when it goes to the reporters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny to see what they look like afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wonder what he just said to Clinton.
Look,
Clinton made a funny face.
Oh, look! Did you just see it? Did you see her eyes? She
Yeah.
looks furious.
That was weird.
She was like, "What did you do? This wasn't supposed to happen."
Somebody must have asked.
She's talking to Jeff Goldblum.
Huh. Somebody must.
It looks like Jeff Goldblum.
He must have said something that was just something she didn't expect to hear. But yeah, the plastic surgery on Clinton. was really showing tonight. I mean, her smile looks really creepy.
Terrifying.
I know. It's like, oh, okay, that's the end of the stream.
So are you kind of oppressed by Trump now?
I'm not changing my opinion on voting for him at all. But
I know that, but
I think he's definitely more viable in his candidacy after his performance tonight.
Yes, he really turned on, and all he has to do now, I mean, if he wants to continue having a shot at the presidency, he just needs to do the same thing at the next debate. But the problem is she's going to really try and train hard because this was not supposed to happen.
Yeah. Clinton.
So the tapes turned in from the perfect opportunity to destroy Trump in this debate to being the worst because they were redressed and now nobody can talk about them anymore.
Oh,
they're yesterday's news now.
Oh, they'll keep talking about them, but
yes,
it won't
but nobody
be
will
the
care.
Main thing that it's been.
Nobody will care.
Yeah, it won't be anywhere effective as it is now. I don't support Trump because I'm a Buckley fusionist conservative, and Trump isn't.
Mm-hmm. The problem, I think, again, just to criticize that, is that first off, I don't agree with the foreign policy of the fusionists. I agree, obviously, with the social conservatism, but I guess I'm more of like a paleo or Dwight D. Eisenhower conservative.
Yeah, well,
he explicitly said we need to guard against the military-industrial establishment, and that's what happened. That's what we have.
I have to say that the military.
Do you want to turn off the stream now, or
no? This is fine.
Okay. Should we go offline?
I'm gonna stop broadcasting whenever when we get to be sort of done with our final remarks.
Okay. Well, I guess what remarks do you have then, Ben?
Well, I was gonna respond to your question first. I was gonna say that of the military, the military aspects of the fusionists is sort of the tenet of theirs that I'm sort of least committed to. It's mainly the social conservatism, and B, the capitalism, and then sort of C, the foreign policy, which the fusionists are sort of divided. A lot of them, one that I know, are just sort of divided on the Iraq War, whether it was advisable or not, but are pretty solid on Afghanistan. So, a lot of us sort of did support the Iraq War at the time, but have come to sort of re-examine that after the rise of ISIS, and maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
And that these wars are incredibly unpopular.
Well, I don't think that conservatives tend to base policy on what's popular, but it certainly wasn't very successful in achieving its objectives, and we should have been able to foresee that, really. I was going to say about this debate and what's going to happen in November, I still think that Hillary is going to win. I think this is not the last skeleton in Trump's closet. Hillary is extremely scandal-proof because she has the entire media except for Fox News and a few conspiracists like Alex Jones and Breitbart in her pocket.
I honestly can't go to Breitbart because it's so they're just as bad as Huffington Post.
They are well on their way to being just as bad as Huffington Post. That's certainly true. The right is just as adept at clickbait as the left. It's irritating to me that how similar I see stuff from the right-wing media becoming to what the left-wing media was before Fox became what it is. I mean, the right-wing media today is really starting to look like the left-wing media did when I was a kid, and that is just so disappointing and disheartening to me as a conservative. So anyway, Trump is off to grab more married women now.
Is that from somebody in the chat say that?
Yeah. And yeah.
How many people are posting in the chat?
Oh, mainly just two. We had Distributors for a second. We had a few other people, but it's mainly been these same two people. It's not a big deal.
Is Spencer Hyde in there as always?
No.
He seems to be. I'm glad I managed to actually get talk with him. And now we're kind of getting offhand. Any last remarks?
I don't know if we want to talk about that while we're still live.
Yeah. But, sorry about that.
About the debates. So I think Hillary's going to win. I'm not voting for either candidate. But Trump nailed it today. He did the best he possibly could have.
Yes.
There was a few times when he still, sort of wouldn't shut up at the right time, but other than that, it was perfect, his performance tonight.
And he even made the moderators seem biased, which is good.
Yeah, and the opening, in the context of the rest of the debate, the opening doesn't seem so bad.
No, and nobody cared. I mean, that it almost works to his advantage. Like him sounding kind of calm, more kind of calm
and
tone.
And he seemed
helps.
like he was really sorry about that at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's good.
So it makes him seem like he's like genuinely repentant over that instead of weak.
Or just to fight.
So he sort of comes off seeming meek instead of weak, which is
and
good.
I think even on that last note, because I always think the best thing if you're in a debate, I think you kind of always want to be the one you want to have the last word in it.
I don't even remember who had the last word.
It was him.
Trump
did. And it was like, say something nice about your opponent, and he said she never gives up, and so it was very short, and it made him sound very humble, which was good.
And so I guess
Hillary
winning the coin toss at the beginning to get to speak first was actually really bad for Hillary.
Again, and the thing is, she turned her, supposed, compliment of Trump into, first off, deflecting it by saying his children are nice, and then attacking him. He did the perfect thing of being more gracious and just saying, I disagree with her, but I admit she's tough and she never gives up. And that's the perfect thing you could say.
I know that there's no way he could have done better on that than he did. It was perfect. All right. So October 13th, Wednesday, try and get home early from work if you can. I think there's going to be some more fireworks at that. I think Clinton is going to be training really hard. She's going to, one of the things her aides are going to say is, try to look less robotic and creepy.
And less like a witch.
Exactly.
Well, no, there's nothing they can really do to make her not look like a witch.
Just don't smile like that.
Don't smile, just be upset.
Don't smile like that. Those smiles, they looked so terrible. I mean, honestly, that looked terrible.
All right.
And that's going to be all over the memes pretty soon. And the zooming in on Clinton's face.
What was up with that?
Super Deluxe has got to do some art with that.
That was somebody at NBC is getting fired. I know it. All right, so
yeah, it's Anderson Cooper.
Anyway, let me see if I can get my William F. Buckley voice back. So we will continue with the conspiracy to overthrow the world and replace it with a extreme, evil, oppressive Christian theocracy that puts atheists into camps. And no matter who wins this election, it won't matter because we're going to overthrow the government with our Christian theocracy conspiracy. And you all have your assignments. Please keep working to subvert the power structures, and we will take over. So watch out, atheists, and good night, America.